BS USB? Reprogrammed it?
Was never gonna turn off the machine. A BS USB? Hello? Your machine is what I wanted all along.
You lied to me!
Of course I lied to you. I knew you'd eventually fall for these pathetic creatures.
But you were my idol. My whole life I looked up to you. I wanted to be you.
Oh, Lockwood. I was just using you to get your invention.
Art. Everyone's favorite cash cow. You see it everywhere. Movies, video games, even this video. Art is used in many ways, but in my opinion, the two most common is money and creativity. But today's topic is about an artist. For those living under a rock, today's topic is about Creepshow Art. Now before you say I was late to this, keep in mind that I was busy collecting my own evidence. For context, Creepshow Art, or Shannon Campbell, is an art commentary YouTuber that once had over 500,000 subscribers and became what is known as the Ellen DeGeneres of YouTube, being the kind, sweet, caring person she always is. That is until 2020 when Ellen DeGeneres became a much more controversial figure. But Creepshow Art was getting more subscribers by the day. In 2020 alone, she had obtained 300,000 more subscribers, and by 2021, she had reached halfway to 1 million. But then something happened on June of that year, an action that shook the art community as a whole. Today, I bring you a tale of stalking, possession of CP, a 15-year-old getting blamed, false homelessness, doxing of a sister, and how a once cherished art YouTuber became a monster.
My stalker is Shannon, better known as Creepshow Art, and what I believe to be her current husband, Anthony Parker, who is also my abusive ex-partner.
To Creepshow Art because I love her.
Look at all of those red numbers. I've not seen this many people unsub from a channel in a very long time.
Show saying that an Asian person has terrible skin for an Asian person. That's clearly directed at someone, and you're a lot more racist than I am.
I'm Hopeless Peaches, hello, and I'm one of the many people that Creepshow Art has spread false information about, as well as one of the people spoken about within these leaked messages. I used to be her friend, but now I'm not.
Okay, Creepshow Art. Who is Creepshow Art?
It's a girl by the name of Shannon.
We begin our story on the first day of the final month of 2020. On that day, Creepshow Art released a tweet detailing her experience with English YouTuber Hopeless Peaches. In it, she mentions how Hopeless Peaches, quote, spread lies about her, when Creepshow Art herself said that she didn't do anything wrong. After the tweet came out, people immediately began pouring over them, but even then, it didn't get much attention. That is, until the next day, when the dam finally broke. December 2nd, 2020. The day when allegations finally broke the internet. What happened on that day? Well, gameplay commentator Prismate Luke released a video called Stop Lying Peaches. In the video, he mentions how Peaches was a suicide baiter.
She would also make really serious posts on Twitter saying how she's done goodbye, went offline for half a day, and then acted like it was nothing afterward. And I felt like that wasn't fair to her fans, and I called her out for it.
And his proof was a couple of tweets of Peaches saying, I'm gonna off myself, but then just returned like nothing happened. Prismate Luke would then release another video called No More Lying Peaches. In that video, he then brought up another victim of Hopeless Peaches. We are introduced to Camila Cuevas, a Chilean YouTuber that once worked with Hopeless Peaches. For context purposes, I'll condense it very shortly. In January of 2018, Camila and Hopeless Peaches collaborated on making some art for merchandising reasons.
Around 2 years ago, Peaches and Camellia were friends. They even did a collab together. From the beginning, it was clear that it was for merch. Peaches even acknowledged that. And this was the end product, a picture of Camellia's fan characters.
Peaches did not like what was going on and asked Camila to take it down. Camila complied, and they made no money off of it. But then she would accuse Peaches of allegedly bullying her, manipulation, and sending her to the hospital. Now it gets worse. Because on December 7th, 2 videos came out detailing their experience with Hopeless Peaches. The first was by Omnia. At the time, Omnia was a very small creator, and her and Peaches became pals. They both got into an argument over the Toby drama. Side note, the Toby drama was a controversy when Toby, who once had over 40k subs, was called out for toxic behavior by Omnia and her boyfriend Kai. Toby called out those who drew NSFW art of children as pedophiles.
Ben Louis is a pedophile on Twitter who draws underage characters fucking. Some of them he ages up, like physically.
But Toby herself was found to have drawn NSFW art of minors.
But, oh. Yeah, there's also this one. Sailor Moon. Yeah. This is called hypocrisy.
Toby was also called up for supporting Shane Dawson, which involved him shooting blackface, but Toby had one trick up her sleeves. This is the part where Shannon's career began to rear its ugly heads. A video titled The Faults of Creepshow Art was edited and published onto YouTube just a year prior of the Emily Arpel situation. The video in question goes over a previous drama that Shannon already went over, which was over drag queens, but honestly the right opinion made a better video on it. Link in the description. And side note, after Omnia and Kai Weiss's video, then came the big gun. Creepshow Art would then release a video called Hopeless Peaches Needs to Stop. In the video, she mentions how Hopeless Peaches has a history of manipulative behavior, adding on to prison mate Luke's claims.
Sure, did she purposely go out of her way to tell people that she knew I liked and admired in this community that I told her I liked and admired that I was a terrible person who deserved to be taken off the platform? Absolutely yes.
If that wasn't bad enough, she was then joined by Avrona, who also said that Peaches was abusive to him. Eventually, after all these allegations broke out, Peaches would then try to respond to them. In a video called Addressing the Allegations Against Me Part 1. Yeah, there's more than one part to this. Oh, and by the way, there's no Part 2. Which of course didn't go over so well. It may seem we have another Toby drama on our hands, but either way, Hopeless Peaches' career was over. Or was it? We're at an age where commentary YouTubers are very common, and they focus on the current drama. For Minilad, Kiro the Wolf, and Shane Dawson, drama appears every single minute, and YouTubers try to document what's new. But then one YouTuber laid the Kindle. That YouTuber is Just Stop. He laid the Kindle to what would become the biggest cancellation in history. On December 21st, 2020, he would release a video called Prisonmate Luke, Gap in the Bars. In the video, he would simply criticize his content for being generic.
A thing I don't think Luke seems to realize is that videos in the commentary genre are usually meant to have some differentiation between them to stand out and add to the conversation being had. I've said on a few occasions that the main thing you want to focus on when creating a commentary or review channel is to stand out in any way you can.
As well for Prisonmate Luke just jumping on the gun.
Luke has found another controversy to talk about thanks to other people making videos, releasing Google Docs, or other forms of information being brought out. He will go on to go through each and every point those videos before him did, sometimes interluding with an occasional, wow, that's shitty, or damn, you think you know a guy. Afterwards, he'll usually go into a 3 to 4 minute long recap and assessment of the situation that can basically be summed up as, I agree with the other person that talked about this and am indeed quite shocked about this as well.
What I mean that is the fact he jumps to conclusions whenever a certain drama happens. For example, Just Stop went over the Toby drama and how Prisonmate Luke came to believe that 2 other commentary YouTubers, Nani and Harsh Opinions, were defenders of Toby by criticizing Kai and Omnia, but Just Stop proved that, quote.
But in their videos, they were still critical of Toby at the start and clearly showed they didn't exactly like her to begin with.
Just Stop will then go on about how Prisonmate Luke doesn't acquire evidence for his claims. Okay, scratch that. Evidence that is significant.
The thing is, there wasn't any actual solid proof that he did it. Luke claims there's evidence to support it, but he never shows said evidence. There's evidence pointing to whom the artist might be, but thinking logically, why would Antunes do that to begin with? As an artist, he could draw a better version himself, and it doesn't really make sense that he'd do that in the first place after the drama had already died down. With no substantial proof, Luke was straight up spreading rumors here, and that's no good, making him look like a guy that doesn't check sources.
But how did our favorite inmate respond? On December 23rd, 2020, Prisonmate Luke released his own response to Just Stop's video. Just Stop's fundamentally flawed video on me. In terms of context, it was just Prisonmate Luke not being able to take criticism. That ultimately led to his downfall. A month after the video came out, Just Stop would then release a video called Prisonmate Luke, My Worst Fears Realized. To basically summarize the video, it was a response of a response. But what should be noted is that when Just Stop brought up Hopeless Peaches, in the video, he showed that Hopeless Peaches did indeed have problems, judging by the release dates of her videos.
I said that he shouldn't have said she suicide baited her audience when there was no evidence of it being that way, and saying that without asking her can be incredibly damaging to her mental health and make her look worse in the process. She's been shown to have real mental issues and was already taking medication before this happened, and from what I've heard from her friends, this has caused her tons of anxiety and made her switch to a different, stronger medication entirely. Luke's response to my saying he shouldn't have said she suicide baited her audience when there was no proof and it would most likely worsen her mental health?
20 seconds later.
Oh really? You saw a pattern of her saying she'll take time off for her mental health but then not doing it? Well, I showed she did actually start spacing out her content more, for one, and secondly, couldn't they have not taken time off because they wanted to make sure their fan base was still there when they came back? That's a genuine fear, and from a depressed person I can completely believe that. And the fact you're still trying to deflect and not address that you called Peaches a suicide baiter when it's so obvious is blatantly disgusting.
After the video came out, people started to realize, are we actually treating Hopeless Peaches too unfairly? You might be wondering how Hopeless Peaches is doing at the time. Well, this video was enough to encourage Hopeless Peaches into coming back. She started out by apologizing as though she hurt, as well as take responsibility for her actions. You might think at that point, everyone would have just forgiven and move on. But not everyone was welcome though. If you've seen other videos on the internet, you know how Prismate Luke and Creepshow Art didn't welcome her back. In fact, another party also had their gripes with her. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you Marahi's reception with keys. The definition of basement dweller is defined by this comment over there. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately depending on your view, their article on her is no longer on the website. But take my word, their article was once on the website. Like Prismate Luke and Creepshow Art, they also criticize her for her actions. Unlike those two, they are severely against social justice warriors. In fact, they are so disliked that Kiwi Farms of all people even called them out. When you have a site that is known for targeting lolcows, and them being linked to 3 different suicides, with their one on Near being the most well known, you know you screwed up bad. Anyway, back to the topic. Hopeless Peaches' biggest accuser, Creepshow Art, would release another video called Hopeless Peaches Hasn't Stopped. What's interesting to note is the quote from Just a Robot.
Really, Creepshow Art? She hasn't been given unfair treatment in this situation? Was it fair to her when you lied about her editing the script in her favor when she didn't? Was it fair to her when people called her a liar for her grooming video, up to the point where she took it down, then later put it up with the comments disabled? Was it fair to her when Luke blatantly lied about her, most of which were either debunked by Hopeless Peach's friends in the document that you went over but just completely ignored, debunked by Millie Malware, Just Stop, Harley TBS, and Spockter?
Our favorite Prismate Luke exposer, Just Stop, would release another video, Creepshow Art looking hopeless. Basically, he would criticize Shannon's behavior throughout the Hopeless Peaches drama.
I want to say this now, Shannon. In a situation like that of Hopeless Peaches, there was plenty that was wrong in what the big channel stated about her, and with just how many holes for evidence there were, it'd be enough to sink an aircraft carrier. If new evidence is brought to light that doesn't support the exact narrative you and your colleagues were peddling, you don't just get to ignore it and act like everything you said was right and none of it could ever be wrong. That's not searching for the truth, that's creationists believing the world was made 4,000 years ago after so much scientific data is provided that it's laughable how hard they're holding on. You look disingenuous and unfair by not taking into account the evidence other people provide, and this circles back to how emotional you can be in these kinds of situations. You're heavily emotionally invested in this, so of course you're going to want to shut out others who aren't 100% on your side in every argument. It's personal to you, and you've let it be highly emotionally attached to you, so people that go against you feel like personal attacks. attacks, even if they mean no harm, and instead just want to get the pure truth of the situation.
Just Stop also revealed Creepshow Art's relationship with prison mate Luke.
You supported Luke. You supported comments supporting Luke. You haven't said a single thing against him in public, whether it be a community post, pinned comment, unpinned comment, video, anything. And that's a problem.
It was to the point that they were almost becoming a couple. By that point, most people agreed that the Hopeless Peaches situation was over, but the final nail happened a month later. On March 18, 2021, Hopeless Peaches would then release another video. We need to talk about the Hopeless Peaches drama. Basically, it was her debunking the allegations against her. It was well received by the commentary community, but of course, not everyone enjoyed it. Despite being called out, Creepshow Art still insisted that her words are true, although we only have an article by the Wikitubia to verify it. But anyway, at that point, Hopeless Peaches' career was finally saved. Commentary YouTubers like Spockter, Harley TBS, Just a Robot, even Hopeless Peaches' biggest detractor, the Hotbox, also made a video on her. It may seem that the war is finally over, which it would be if it was the end of this video, but no.
But wait! There's more!
Okay, another update. I found another person who was involved with the Hopeless Peaches drama. Although it isn't quite big of an update, it's more of a small one, but during Hopeless Peaches' response video to the drama, she revealed that an associate of Shannon, who goes by Minty Unicorn on YouTube, has sent her threatening DMs, saying that she deserves to be hurt, although Minty has apologized for what she did. Some believe it was just mere hand-waving, although for whatever reason, possibly due to this incident, Minty has remained inactive on her YouTube account for over 9 months. Before we move on to how Creepshow Art wrecked her channel, we need to understand how she got into that power in the first place. To understand what I'm talking about, we need to go back to 2020 so I can introduce you to an associate of Shannon. This is Nani, a former associate of Shannon, and the main subject for the first half of this section. Anyway, on December 4, 2020, Nani would release a video called Creepshow Art Changed My Life. The video has now been deleted. Sorry, unlisted. But in the video, she mentioned how Creepshow Art helped her through dark times.
Cause I love her. Yep.
Nani was a couch hopper.
At one point, not too long ago, like maybe not too long ago, just months ago, I was in not a not so good spot in the world at all. Like, I didn't know where I was gonna live. I didn't know where my brother was gonna live. I was like being kicked out of places in which I was living. I was like couch surfing. It was like a whole thing. I was like couch surfing. It was scary. It was a whole thing.
And around the time, she was in big trouble. But then Creepshow Art came up to her with Nani spilling the beans.
She was helping me like look up apartments and prices and telling me that if I like my videos could be making this amount so that I can afford an apartment for my little brother and I and things like that. And like from that conversation forward, I like from that day that I had a conversation with Creepshow forward, I like completely like changed how I was doing things.
As you saw and heard right there, Nani was homeless, Shannon found her a home, and Nani had a new friend. That wasn't the only friend she helped. Allow me to introduce you to Thuman. Thuman. Anyway, Thuman was accused of blackwashing, specifically for drawing the character of Kiki from the anime Kiki's Delivery Service. Thuman got a lot of hate messages, and our favorite Creepshow Art made a video defending her. Thuman supported the video, and while she still got harassment, it helped her through the ordeal. Now, all of these events help Creepshow Art gain a reputation, but you know the words, the bigger they are, the harder they will fall. And Creepshow Art fell hard. Let's see how far she's fallen. Internet trolls are nothing new. We all know the term. Don't feed the trolls. But of course, some people don't choose to listen. The ones that are being trolled try to fight back. But this gives the trolls more ammo. So much ammo that trolls take an interest. As I mentioned earlier, once the trolling gets to the point of no return, the Streisand effect occurs. You have online forums discussing about you just because you got their attention. Kiwi Farms, Encyclopedia Dramatica, 4chan, and today's subject, lolcow.farm. All of these sites have one thing in common, which was them making fun of lolcows, or people that could be milked for laughs. Despite all the trolling, sites like these have very strict rules. The rules vary between sites, but if you break those rules, the punishment can vary. At best you're just given a simple warning, at bad you are banned, and worst of all, you could have your anonymity revoked. So users have to follow these rules. Most users on these sites just use the forums for their own amusement. But then there are some people who use the forums for their own benefits. We are getting to the juicy stuff now. There are some people we do not like, and some we are not a fan of. But just because we dislike them does not mean we wish them to die. But then there are some people whom we hate so much that we have to fight back against them. Sometimes our hatred on them so much can make us forget our moral code, so much so that we end up breaking the rules. You know what I'm talking about. On June 2nd of 2021, someone on the lolcow forum, who was an admin, outright exposed a user on the site. As many users in this thread are aware, Shannon's posts on lolcow haven't exactly been subtle. We've decided to compile her post history after she escalated her behavior by sharing her sister's social media in order to deflect from criticism towards herself. Beyond that, she has been anonymously promoting her videos on YouTube and Patreon to farmers and making posts about herself to either white knight or insult herself. For many years, we had a policy to reveal post histories of users who go to great lengths to use lolcow.farm to propel their own online presence. You can read the full post history right here, and when you click on it, you will find 292 total posts that were alleged to be Shannon. It revealed many racist slurs, homophobic slurs, transphobic slurs, ableism, talking badly about other YouTubers, as well as using the forums for her own public gain. Soon after these leaks, on June 4, 2021, a Twitter user who goes by the name DishSoap1234 spread info about these leaks. After these leaks, our favorite two-colored hair girl would make a long community post outright denying that it is her. Strap in, folks, this is a very long one.
This post just going up because I need to talk about this and let you know what's going on. Earlier today, I got a message saying that I had doxed a relative, that I had been called out for saying certain things about myself and other creators, and more on a hate forum. And I was confused because I hadn't done that. I would remember doing that, especially the doxing. That's so firmly against what I stand for, and I don't believe in doing that, even to someone I loathe. However, after being sent screenshots of what I allegedly said about me, myself, my friends, and most importantly, my relative, I realized what had happened. A couple years back, I made a video about how I had been stalked over 8 years by a woman I called Amy. That's not her real name because I was protecting her identity. I talked in detail about that situation, how it affected me, and what I had to do in that situation to keep myself safe. But I also discussed how Amy and I kind of reconciled at the end of that and came to an understanding. She even liked the video and supported me making it. We kept in contact over the past couple years, and I thought I kept a good amount of distance between us, never letting her close enough to hurt me again. Apparently, I am really shitty at that. Obviously, I was wrong, because she has gone back to doing what she has always done, which is try to hurt me, try to turn the people in my life against me, and salivate at the idea of me losing everything. She did this for years, even when I didn't have anything, to the point where when I was dating my husband, she sent him text messages telling him I was a horrible person and he should leave me. She made fake Facebook accounts to tell people about what a terrible person I was, and she spent years fucking with me, non-stop, to the point where I just wanted to end it. I had a sneaking suspicion she had been going back to this earlier this year, when I started receiving more and more images of self-harm and abuse in my inbox, because that was one of the biggest things she would do to me. I didn't want to believe it though, because I am a polarizing creator, and some people on the internet just don't have boundaries. It's why I had to shut down my Instagram, and low-key why I had to shut down Twitter. I've stated publicly and behind the scenes that the amount of harassment I've received has gone down by 100% when I deleted Twitter, and I now know why. Because of Amy. When she was harassing me in high school, I would get so many images of self-harm and self-injury that it would cause me to shut down emotionally, and I had confided in her, back when we were friends, that was one of my biggest sore spots. Seeing something like that was just the #1 way to hurt me online, so when it started happening in excess again, I started to think that maybe it was her. Maybe she had gone back to that way of being. But I didn't want to think that, because we had been so good the last time we talked, with her catching me up on her life and me doing the same back. I didn't know she was going to use everything to try to paint me as something I'm not, and I didn't think I needed to use a VPN so she wouldn't get my IP address. She had shown me pictures of her daughter and been so supportive of my channel. I thought we were okay, but I was wrong, because she's been posting on certain sites, posing as me, spoofing my IP, doxing my family members, writing things about myself and my friends, sending me death threats from other accounts, making false accounts to spam my comment sections, spamming the comment sections of my friends saying hateful things about me in order to get them to drop me, and just all around doing what she did years ago. That's not it, of course, but the amount of time and energy she has put into this is well beyond what I thought she was capable of, and as far as I can tell, she's been doing this for well over a couple of years. This is not to say I haven't messed up or been rightfully criticized, mind you. I'm not blaming her for people being critical of me. I don't know how she did it, I don't know why she did it, but the moment my relative was brought up out of the blue, I knew it was her. She has literally always been obsessed with my relative to the point of constantly bringing them up in our conversations, asking me about them, and using them to hurt me even in high school. So I'm sending out a cease and desist, and if it comes to it, I will be filing a full restraining order. I don't want to have to do that because she has a daughter, and this will go on her record, which will keep her from being able to get a job and providing crying for that child, and I keep going in circles in my head about this because I don't know what's right in this situation, but I also don't want this to continue. I just want this to be done. All I have ever wanted was for this to be done, and it's getting to the point where I have to protect myself and my family. I just wanted to update you guys because there is that narrative floating around now that I said terrible things about myself and doxed a relative of mine online, and it's not fucking true. All I can say is that it's not fucking true. I completely understand if no one believes me. I understand if I lose friends over this, but the fact that it's been over 10 years of this shit is exhausting. The fact that 2 fucking years ago I made a video about this exact thing happening, about this person doing this to me, going to these extremes, hopefully says a lot. This has been going on for nearly half of my fucking life, and I am tired of it. I'm going to be keeping the rest of this offline where it belongs, so if you have questions, I'm sorry. I'm not answering them, but I wanted to address it. Again, I talked about this 2 fucking years ago, only to have her go around and do this shit again. I'm learning every day how much time she dedicated to harassing me, and it goes deeper than I ever thought.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
So, to basically summarize, Shannon has outright stated that a stalker has been impersonating her, specifically Amy, a stalker of her in the past. Of course, as you can already imagine, no one bought it. So, without further ado, Shannon had stated that Amy had spoofed her IP. To summarize, IP spoofing is the creation of internet protocol packets which have a modified source address in order to hide the identity of the sender, making it look like it was coming from another computer, or both.
Hi there. Let's talk about your computer identity, an IP address that makes it unique among millions of other devices online. But this identity can be stolen and abused through a technique called IP spoofing. And here's how it works. Internet traffic travels in bits of data called packets. Every packet contains information about who sent it and where it's going, just like a mailed box has the details of the sender and the destination. During IP spoofing, a hacker replaces the IP address in a packet to mask the source of the data. This can serve various malicious purposes. An attacker can fool your computer into thinking that the packets are coming from a trusted source and infect you with malware. Or, a hacker can send out millions of requests with a spoofed IP address. Those requests would come back to an unsuspecting victim, flooding and crashing their server. Finally, a hacker can use IP spoofing to infiltrate communications between you and another person or website. That way, they can monitor your online activity and even extract your passwords without you ever knowing.
So to summarize, Shannon stated that Amy spoofed the IP to make it look like it was coming from Shannon. But if that's the case, however, Shannon forgot this. The reason why IP spoofing is used is for DDoS attacks, distributed denial of service attacks. DDoS attacks will often utilize spoofing with the goal of overwhelming a target with traffic, while at the same time masking the identity of hackers. So Amy had pretended to be Shannon throughout the 872 days, or 2 1/3 years, on lolcow. Can you see why no one believed it? It may be possible, but extremely unlikely. So either God hates her, or that this was Amy's all doing. Or Creepshow was just lying to cover her ass, which sounds like the more likely reason. And even if we take Shannon at her word, why would a stalker promote your work? Does Amy know about the consequences of lolcow and set up some quasi-scheme to frame Shannon? On June 6, 2021, Creepshow Art released what could be her final video yet, Why Pride Exists and Why Straight Pride Doesn't. It should be noted that not once has she addressed the allegations. Some people interpret this video as some sort of damage control. Like after all the trans and homophobic slurs, she made this video to show that she is part of the Pride community. But in any case, the video did not go over so well. Before YouTube removed the dislikes, which I found a workaround, the video sits at 56,000 dislikes. But in any case, Creepshow Art's career was over, which it would be if it was the end of this video. But my friends, it gets worse. Far worse. Around the same time of Creepshow Art's cancellation, the additional accusers of Hopeless Peaches, prison-mate Luke and the Marahis reception with Keys, went through their own troubles. Luke needs no introduction. We already know him, he's more popular. After his last video on YouTube, he suddenly disappeared off the internet, and he was never seen again since May of 2021. Perhaps being associated with Shannon made things worse? The other and more obscure accuser is, of course, the Marahis reception with Keys. Now, I know what you're asking. What are the Marahis reception with Keys? For the context of this video, I'll be referring to them as reception with Keys for short. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Reception with Keys are a fan-made website that is community-based. It generally focuses on all forms of media, movies, TV shows, video games, books, and more. Quite often, they'll discuss media as good or bad. Good movie? bad movie. Good game, bad game. Good show, you get the point. First founded in 2016 by a user known as Gruss, the site originally launched on Fandom before being moved to Marahi's in 2018. Following that year, they moved many of their articles on the fandom to the Marahi's. But after they moved, the power went straight into their heads. Remember all the comments I showed you earlier? I don't think this is incel 4chan stuff. These are real people getting physically angry over social justice warriors. The same year Creepshow Art's cancellation and imprisonment Luke's departure, Gruss, the original founder of the Wikis, being accused of pedophilia. Allegedly, Gruss is supposed to be 34 years old because Gruss admits to being 34 in a blog, yet speaks like a 13-year-old edgelord on the Marahi's. So when accused of pedophilia, he said this: "Here's the thing. I never said I found those characters attractive or sexy, and from the comment made it clear I only tolerate those works because said minds were actually adults." You think someone accused of pedophilia will try to defend themselves? But do I think Gruss is a pedophile? No. No. But do I think Gruss is not a good user on the site? The reception wikis got new users, but even that wasn't enough. By 2021 alone, many former users of the reception wikis decided that they had enough. They called out the wikis for its toxic user base, poor site management, lack of citations, and complete and utter hypocrisy. They call out those who can't take criticism, while at the same time refusing to take criticism themselves. While they have slightly improved after this call out, it's gonna take a while for it to be considered a turnaround. But despite this, I believe Prisonmate Luke and the reception wikis can improve from this, unlike Creepshow Art, who gets worse. Now, if you were to ask who was the first person to speak out against Creepshow, almost everyone would say Emily Artful. I mean, she was stalked. Her post on Twitter came out on June 8th, 2 days after Shannon's final video, but you'd be wrong. Take a guess. Take a wild, stab in the dark guess. What is Hopeless Peaches?
You are right.
If you guessed Creepshow Art's second biggest victim, then you'd be correct. Give yourself a pat on the back for that one. And a virtual handshake from me. 3 days after Emily Artful's tweet, Hopeless Peaches released a video speaking up against Creepshow Art. This is not okay. The first 13 minutes goes over what was leaked in the lolcow forums. The remaining 11 goes over the emails she had with Shannon.
By her friends or fans. Her response is to latch onto the fact that I mistook it as a Patreon early access and not a YouTube members access. A small nitpick that doesn't change anything. And then goes ahead to say that if I didn't dox her, it would somehow be worse?
Hopeless Peaches in the email tried to reason with Shannon, but Shannon refused to listen to her. But this was just the beginning. Remember Emily Artful I showed you earlier? Well, she had her own story to tell, and the following day she released it out in the world.
I had speculations, but they were pretty far off.
Emily Artful is a 30-year-old art YouTuber who, like Shannon, discussed videos about her art, personal life, and is a mother of 2 boys, a 3-year-old at the time of recording this, and a 1-year-old at the time of recording this. She also managed to set the internet on fire on June 8th of 2021. To find the spark that light this fire, we need to go to everyone's favorite social platform, Twitter. Ah yes, Twitter, known for its toxic user base. On June the 8th of 2021, Emily Artful wrote, "This just needs to be said. This woman has tormented me for years and years. I know her because my ex-boyfriend dated her after me. I moved on, but she/they continued to harass and stalk me." And then she attached a post within a post where she wrote, "I am currently shaking and crying because Creepshow Art is finally being exposed for the absolute terrible person she is. I have known Shannon for many years, even years before she started her YouTube channel. She has copied, stalked, harassed, and threatened me and my children's lives. She has used revenge porn against me, tried to use my drug addiction against me. She has literally got me fired from multiple jobs, causing me to become homeless. This person has pushed me to the brink of suicide multiple times and then tried to blame it on a mutual friend when I finally caught her red-handed by tracing her IP. Shannon, you are Amy. All the things you claim Amy did to you are the things you did to me. Receipts to come, I got years worth of them." She then added additional tweets. The fact that she's saying her stalker did all this to frame her is freaking hilarious, because she has literally been making fake Emily Artful accounts all over the internet for years to try and cancel me over the most random shit. What's even more fucked up is that she fabricated this drama and then makes sock puppet accounts posing as a viewer concerned and then would send me the screenshots that she took. When she first started out doing YouTube, she would deliberately copy my thumbnails or titles, then message me under a sock puppet account saying, "OMG, Creepshow Art is copying you," egging me on to attack her. But guess what? I never did. I very politely asked her to maybe change her title, but also said it was her channel and she could do whatever she wants with it. She was very nice in response and agreed to change it. Mind you, I still had no idea who she was at this point. Then I guess she went to Lolcon to claim that Emily Artful is bullying smaller creators, with zero proof because, as I said, I was very polite. Then she screenshotted that post.
This bombshell made Creepshow Art delete her social media accounts, but not all of them though. However, her YouTube, TikTok, and DeviantArt account are still up.
Shannon will also delete videos mentioning Amy. It seems now that Creepshow Art was finally finished for good. But we're not done yet.
On June the 12th, Emily Artful released her video out into the world. But first, a side note. On that very exact same day, another British YouTuber who had experience with Shannon, going by HarleyTBS, released his video on Shannon.
He mentioned how Hopeless Peaches attempted to offer herself a second time, and how he tried to reach out Peaches, but he got no response.
Prior to this, HarleyTBS was known to defend Peaches, and was called a cloud chaser by prison mate Luke.
Now, there's one situation in particular that not a lot of people actually know about, as I deleted any tweets mentioning it, Peaches deleted any tweets mentioning it, and no one else actually touched upon it in any way. Hopeless Peaches attempted to take her life a second time, where she released a tweet discussing how she intended to remove herself from this world because she couldn't take the drama anymore and people hating on her. And when I saw this tweet, I called Peaches' number around 30 times with no response while I sat in VC with some of the people of my server while I was panicking and stressing a bunch because I've had a traumatic past with some of these situations before. So, I was sat there panicking, and in that panic I DM'd Creepshow Art and I told her that this was happening and I asked her what I should do, and she seemed like she genuinely cared. She was guiding me on what to do, telling me how to handle this situation, and she was telling me how she didn't want anything bad for Peaches at all, and how she thought Peaches could get past this, and she was telling me how amazing of a person Peaches actually was, and telling me to tell Peaches that when I got in the call with them. And luckily enough, Peaches picked up after attempting to overdose, and Peaches is okay, which is great. It's great that Peaches is safe and well, because that situation did weigh heavily on me and it caused a lot of stress. That situation is one of the hardest things I've had to deal with in my life.
Harley would successfully talk Peaches out of this. Now, I know what you're thinking. Crinja, Harley's trying to make her look like a good person. But then he says this.
Because under my stress, I didn't think about how manipulative what Shannon was saying actually was. Because how Shannon framed herself in this situation made it seem like she actually cared about Peaches in any way, or that she thought Peaches was a good person. But then you also look at everything Shannon has said, how she so clearly and intentionally lied about Peaches at points, how she was apparently shit-talking her on lolcow, how she manipulated so many people into hating Peaches, and used Luke to spread a lot of information against Peaches, and never once denounced his claims of suicide baiting while apparently promoting this video on lolcow. And you've got to consider how fucked up it is. How fucked up it is to act like, on one hand, you care so much about this person being safe and okay, as you simultaneously advocate for and promote a video that actively suggests and implies that Peaches is a suicide baiter who was faking suicidal tendencies for sympathy.
To summarize, it wouldn't make sense for Shannon to suddenly care about Peaches after she was outed for the lolcow post.
End side note. Later, on the very same day of HarleyTBS's account,
Creepshow Art Has Always Been That Way by Emily Artful has been released on the internet.
With a runtime of 126 minutes, Emily Artful's movie on Creepshow Art is the same length as these movies, and while many people offer an abridged version, I'm going through artistic detail about the video. And by artistic detail, I mean by extensively detailed everything, right opinion style.
Emily Artful was born on January 3rd, 1992, and had been a drug addict since she was 14.
I'm very open. I have struggled with addiction since I was about 14 years old. I am 7 years sober, I guess. I don't have an official sober birthday anymore because there were a few instances of relapse. back then. So I just kind of go with 6 years sober, somewhere in there.
Considering how Emily was 29 when she made the video, that all means she would stop using drugs around 23 or 22 years of age. Actually, correction, 23 to 24 years of age. Thanks, Emily Artful. Around that time, we learned that she was on camera performing illicit acts.
I had another domineering, powerful, abusive man in my life that was taking advantage of me in ways that I do not feel comfortable talking about publicly. So I had no control. I had no bodily autonomy. I had no control. That's just I had no control. I had nothing. So you know how I took control back? I learned this in therapy, by being a fucking bitch.
Fast forward to 2010 or 2012. Emily was around 18 to 20 years old at the time, was working at Nickelback City, which is where she would meet Andrew. Oh, sorry, Anthony Parker. You would also learn that her drug addiction got worse.
So I was somewhere between 18 and 20, I want to say. I was a gig musician making shit all doing that because I still lived at home and I was a student. I took a gig performing at Nickel City Arcade in San Jose because they used to allow the shittiest of bands to perform in their literal birthday room. And Andrew was there with some friends. We ended up hitting it off, and we entered into a very toxic, codependent relation. I was on a lot of psych meds, and I was also abusing certain prescription medications, specifically sleeping medications.
Emily would then detail her abuse with Anthony, such as him punching holes in the wall, how Anthony and his friend Brandon would go into great detail about shooting up a school he used to attend.
He would often punch holes in the drywall of his home, and him and his friend Brandon would go into great detail about donning black trench coats like the Columbine killers, going into their old high school and shooting it up.
However, to play extreme devil's advocate, we can only go by Emily's word over here. And personally, like everyone who believed Emily, I'm a bit skeptical of that one. Of course, I cannot prove it since I wasn't there, but still, I'm allowed to be a bit skeptical, right? Emily would then break up with Anthony and decide to just move on from this. Problem solved, right? Well, no. Anthony would then reach out to Emily and would invite her to sing. Oh, by the way, Anthony's a musician. Emily would then reveal that Anthony had another girl on the track.
He sent me an MP3, and I noticed there was already a girl singing on the track.
That voice was Shannon's.
He sent me the track. I hear the girl's voice. The girl's voice is Shannon's.
Emily did not like the girl's voice and called it weak.
And I say, man, that girl's voice is weak. It doesn't sound good on the track. My voice would sound so much better. Super catty, super bitchy, and super insecure, immature. There's a million words I could use for what I said about it. So I put Shannon down to raise myself up. And I believe in doing that, that is what set off this chain of events, the stalking, the harassment, the threats. So
now we learn where it all began, which was a negative comment that started this whole mess. And at the time, Emily went through a phase, equivalent of that, of the people on lolcow or kiwi farms. And I can kind of understand where Emily's coming from. Keep in mind that at the time, Emily did not know Shannon. It was also at the time that Emily noticed Facebook friend requests on her Facebook account.
Something else I noticed kind of retroactively was that I was receiving a lot of Facebook friend requests from people that I didn't know, but I would have like a handful of mutual friends with, so I would, of course, accept.
These were coming from Anthony and Shannon. However, it's allegedly, and unlike everyone else, I like to be a bit skeptical about that one. But the first strike happened much later. Emily revealed that Anthony and Shannon had locked her Facebook account, preventing her from accessing it.
Now, they ended up phishing me and locking me out of that original Facebook account. Now, I had had that original Facebook account since I was a minor, since Facebook came out.
She would also reveal that both Anthony and Shannon had compromising images when she was a minor. Basically, to some people, CP. While there were pictures of her as an adult, the ones with her as a minor got people's blood really boiling.
And hidden in the messages of that account were some compromising photographs. Now, most of them were of me as an adult, but unfortunately, there were a few of me as a minor.
However, I will argue to that point that it's also alleged. If you've been keeping up with me this far, then you know I'm using the word allegedly a lot. What I want to do is see from a different side at first. The internet can be a very toxic place. You either support Emily Artful or you don't. And all I'm doing is just simply reporting on it. Emily then states that allegedly Anthony and Shannon placed the nude images in a Photobucket account.
And what did they do with these photographs? Well, they went ahead and put them into a Photobucket account, as well as some other photographs from a website that I was on.
Photobucket.com allows users to store photos, whether for posting on social media or just keeping them private. This will be important as explained later on. But that was the first thing that allegedly Anthony and Shannon had done. They then allegedly taunted Emily with those nudes, since at the time Emily was webcamming.
At this point, I was doing some webcamming, not exactly something that I was doing. They compiled a bunch of photographs, inappropriate photographs of me in this Photobucket account, and just taunted me with them, locked me out of my account, and then they emailed me with the email that they had managed to switch out my email for on the Facebook account. And the email, if I remember correctly, was, why do I have to do this 22@gmail, or 44. It was a double number.
Emily then states that at the time this took place, it was very difficult to get your account back. But that was the first strike. In addition to all the major moments that happened to Emily, Emily also states that Anthony and Shannon did some more minor stuff to her, such as body shaming.
Something else that happened is a lot of body shaming. Andrew knew that I had struggled and continue to struggle to this day even with an eating disorder.
Now this is a part I can understand from Emily's perspective, which is also backed up by Shannon's transphobic posts.
I guess Shannon had made a lot of transphobic comments. Let me just say right now, the number one insult, this is how I know it's her, across the board, because, you know, everybody is haters, but I know it's her when I'm called pre-op or TRANNY slur, or when did you get your operation, and do you still have, you know, boy parts down there? Just lots of incredibly transphobic insults.
She would then mention how she used to have a job, but Anthony and Shannon found out about it and would then email Emily's workplace and send them a compromising image of Emily, which got her removed from her job.
I didn't really have control of much. I tried to get a regular job, and Andrew and potentially Shannon found out about this regular job and decided to email my job and send them a compromising video of myself. They posed as a client, said, I'm a regular client. You've lost my business because look at your, you know, disgusting human being of a receptionist.
Emily was left homeless, and things got worse from there.
And I actually ended up homeless for a period of time.
She mentioned about the homelessness Shannon went through, and how it was all chosen by Anthony on his YouTube channel.
Hi, future Emily here. So Shannon was never technically quote-unquote homeless. I mean, she was without a home, but in the traditional sense, her and Anthony were homeless by choice. And I know that because listen to what Anthony says in this video he posted on his YouTube channel in August of last year.
So in this video, I wanted to go over what it was like to be homeless, or kind of partially be homeless, living out of a car for about 2.5, 3 years or so. And keep in mind, this was a conscious decision to do this. We didn't get evicted and thrown out on the street or something like that. We planned for this for about 6 months to about a year or so.
However, in Shannon and Anthony's defense, people can choose to be homeless if they want to, but Emily believes that this alleged fake homelessness was something that Shannon used as a defense card, basically easy sympathy.
But from what I'm reading, it seems like anytime she got called out, she would use her homelessness and the hardships she went through while being homeless as kind of like an excuse for her behavior.
Emily revealed that she got another job, to which Anthony and Shannon tried to find out about the job.
But then once I did overcome it, I ended up meeting someone, moving in with them and getting a different job. And again, you know, Andrew and potentially maybe Shannon did everything they could to try to find out where I was working.
This time, however, Emily saw through it and blocked them.
So they literally, like, copied exactly one of my friend's Facebook accounts, took the about information, all of their pictures, and made this other Facebook account and acted like, oop, my Facebook got deleted, Emily. Like, can you add me again? And my dumbass was like, okay. And so, oh my God, I want to scream at my past self. But I accepted the friend request. And then, of course, they post, hey, does anybody know of any really cool, this specific type of cuisine restaurants in this specific location? And at that point, I'm like, you are not my friend. And so I blocked them. I knew right away that they were trying to find out where I worked. They wanted to try to bait me to be like, yeah, I work here, so that they could call and get me fired from another job.
It was also the time that Emily joined YouTube on May 14 of 2014, but would upload her first video on January 22nd, 2016. This will be important as discussed later on. We now move on to 2016.
Emily was around 24 years old and is healing. Things were seemingly going really well for Emily. She would receive comments on YouTube praising her, had a new boyfriend that was much better than Anthony, and even got a German Shepherd to get over Anthony. Meet Osha, everyone! Yes, things were going really well for Emily, but then a dark storm arrived. It was around that time, Emily got a lot of comments saying, hey, do you know Creepshow Art? Creepshow Art is copying you. Hey Emily, do you know about Creepshow Art? As well as the opposite. Love you, Emily. Creepshow Art is copying you. This Creepshow girl is copying you.
So what did Emily Artful do?
But I watched a couple of her videos, and honestly, like, I like the videos.
After all those fake comments, Emily decided to talk to Creepshow Art about this.
So when I approached her, and I sent her a private message, I was perfectly polite. I didn't want to feel like I was like coming in here and trying to intimidate her to get her to change her series name. Hi Shannon, my name is Emily and I have a channel on YouTube called Emily Artful. It's been brought to my attention that you have a series with the exact same name as a series I created 3 years ago called Sketchbook Storytime. I'm going to guess this was most likely 100% by accident or by coincidence, but I put my heart and soul into my series and I'd really appreciate if you were able to change the name of your Storytime videos. You are completely within your right not to, as it's your channel and you can do with it as you please, but from one artist to another, I hope you'll understand how it can hurt my business. I love your art, and it's obvious you're very talented. You've got an incredibly unique style. I've never seen anything like it. I hope you understand my requests, and I hope you don't think I'm angry. Things like this happen all the time. I figure it's just a coincidence. Thank you, Emily. And Shannon responded, sorry man, I watched Lehman Raptor on YouTube and she has a series titled the same name and she gave me a go-ahead. I'll just label them as Storytime since that's all it is, but I appreciate you letting me know your concern. Looking into it, there are quite a few accounts using the same name for similar series, kind of like Get Ready For Me for beauty YouTubers almost. I think at the very least you might have started a trend, which is commendable. Sorry I made you uncomfortable in any way, my dude.
Still, Emily Artful did not know Shannon or her association with Anthony.
After putting her love for her YouTube channel, Emily's work was finally paying off. One of her videos, You Are Not an Artist, went viral. Emily celebrated by tweeting about it, and our good boy Anthony responded to it.
And one of my videos had all of a sudden gotten like this huge influx of views, like 200,000 or something. And again, I was still a relatively small channel. I was green. I was so excited. So I posted, my video just went a little viral, or my video went viral, I think is the first thing that I posted. And then when I thought about it, I'm like, no, it's more like mini viral. So I came in and made like a second tweet saying it went mini viral. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, Andrew started following me and then responded to me and one of my viewers congratulating me. And he said, buying 100,000 views for a few $100s isn't viral, Judd. Just FYI. And then I'm not sure. I blocked Andrew somewhere.
Emily would then block Anthony.
But Emily would get a message from another account.
One of them literally called notviral_Emily.
And then all of a sudden, moments later, I get a DM on Twitter from an account literally named notviral_Emily. And in this DM, it has my Social Blade stats, basically circling and insinuating that I had paid for these views. Because I guess at this point, Andrew had no idea how the YouTube algorithm works, and sometimes a video is just heavily promoted.
I guess I kind of understand Emily's perspective with this one, but I swear we are just getting started.
About a year after the situation, Emily discovers Creepshow's role in Anthony. Emily found out that Shannon drew a picture of Anthony on her Instagram account.
Fast forward a year again, I had followed Creepshow Art on Instagram. scrolling through Instagram one day and I notice a drawing that resembles Andrew, because Andrew had a very specific look to him. And I was like, oh, who drew this? What a coinky-dink. Creepshow Art.
What's interesting to note is the fact that Emily was concerned for Shannon.
What's interesting, though, is at that point, I didn't accuse Shannon right away. I was actually, if anything, I was concerned about Shannon, and I mentioned that in later receipts. I was worried because I know how Andrew can be, and he had just put me through so much.
And then the big one. Get ready, folks, because we're here for the assault allegations Anthony did on Emily. Out of some respect for Emily, I will not go into great detail about it, but allegedly Anthony did dirty on Emily, taking advantage of her while she was on drugs. After this, Emily hired a private investigator who told her to screenshot everything.
And it wasn't until I had a consultation with a lawyer that they were like, no, don't do that. Screenshot. Keep track of everything.
We then go over to the Snapchat post that Kilgore Trout made.
One day I just received a completely random Snapchat photograph of what looked like a specific square in the city that I lived in, with some nonsensical text overlaid on top. I don't have the initial Snapchat because I just kind of froze in panic, but I do have the response to that Snapchat. I wrote, "Are you in my city?" And Kilgore Trout is the name that they chose this time. And they said, "Somewhere, I suppose, in its labyrinth." And then you could see I started typing back, "You are fucking insane." Now, I'm sorry for the ableist language I was using here. I was so freaked out. You guys have no idea the level of fear that I had in this moment. I was 100% convinced that this person, Andrew or Shannon or whoever, was in my city and they were going to hurt me. You can see I said, "Answer me. You drove all the way here?" And they said, "I don't have a driver's license yet. My parents drove me here."
After the whole Kilgore Trout debacle, Emily then states the language Anthony used in his videos. Basically, artists care more about money and not out of passion, to which Emily finds ironic.
Also, he brings up some really specific points that are kind of referenced in these Snapchats about like the ego and the desire to get like views and money getting in the way of making real art, which I think is so funny considering who his girlfriend is. But okay, hate to break it to you, Anthony, but I continued to make content that I liked regardless of the views. I'd pick up a sponsorship here and there to, live. But your girlfriend or wife or whatever she is continued to shove her fake story times down her subscribers' throats until she realized she would get lots more views if she started sucking on the drama teat, and ended up turning her channel into one notch below a content farm because she features artwork that isn't even hers.
You mean her old profile pic? Or her banner, which aren't drawn by her. And to play devil's advocate, I think people can do drama if they want to as well. I think what everyone is more annoyed about is how Shannon's behavior during said drama, as in her most famous one, the Hopeless Peaches issue, to which she acts slightly annoyed by the situation, rather than outright betrayed.
Sure, did she purposely go out of her way to tell people that she knew I liked and admired in this community that I told her I liked and admired that I was a terrible person who deserved to be taken off the platform? Absolutely yes.
Compared to the prison mate Luke, who just sounds extremely bored and doesn't want to be here.
She would also make really serious posts on Twitter saying how she's done goodbye, went offline for half a day, and then acted like it was nothing afterward. And I felt like that wasn't fair to her fans and I called her out for it.
Why did I bring this up? Well... Also, Emily would then go into detail about the language Anthony and Shannon were using to the point where she can differentiate between the two.
But when you've been stalked as long as I have, you can detect your stalker's language to the point where I could start to differentiate the voices between Andrew and Shannon. And what's really interesting is it was definitely Andrew in the beginning. Like, I really think Andrew just roped Shannon into this mean girl obsession with me. And Shannon kind of became the mastermind over time.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard right there, Shannon became the Macbeth of YouTube. After this, Emily goes over the Rewired Soul and the drama surrounding him. The Rewired Soul is a YouTuber that talks about mental health issues, but would later go on to talk about other people's mental health, which of course got him called out. Now, why is this important? Well...
During that whole debacle, I got a DM on Twitter from someone named dat boy. And they say, "Uh-oh, dear. Looks like you're friends with a fraud. Do you want to be hurt in the worst possible way? Somebody is a bad mommy. Maybe we let everyone know how bad of a mommy you are. Keep telling people you're sober, girl. Maybe if you say it enough, people will believe it. Have fun endorsing your fraud, druggy bitch. Have fun faking your sobriety for your mindless followers. They believe you, but no one else does, my dear. You bad mommy. I've got receipts, druggy bitch," with a winky face.
The harassment on Emily Artful worsens, which allegedly Anthony and Shannon started calling her as a bad mom. Emily reveals that it wasn't just her being abused, but Hopeless Peaches as well.
You'll see a few really great examples of that later on in this video, but I'd also highly recommend checking out Hopeless Peaches' video on the matter. Peaches shows a few really good examples of her trying to calmly stand up for herself, only to be met with gaslighting from Shannon.
And if you read Shannon's post on lolcow.farm, you will notice that Shannon started talking about Hopeless Peaches very negatively before Prison made Luke video. Emily would then go into detail about how Anthony and Shannon would accuse her of being like Daddy of 5.
Because this is not the first instance that Shannon has alluded to me being a bad mother. Many years ago, I made a few videos that I have since deleted that were just totally for fun. It was like kind of a silly, not like alternate reality game, but I changed my channel for Halloween, and I did this thing with my, at the time, I think he was like a year old, my first son, Beanie, let's call him Beanie. And we did this really fun, like, literal, like a collaboration between mommy and baby. And it was about like how he's got the spawn of Satan inside of him and we have to exorcise him. And if you guys were around then, you know it was totally harmless, super cute. My baby and I had lots of fun. And it wasn't like this thing that I was like trying to get so much money for. I knew it was quote unquote off brand. It was silly, it was cute. I'm sure it exists somewhere. I'm sure somebody made a copy. And if you watch it, it was just dumb and campy and fun. And I'm glad I did it. I'm still glad I did it. We had so much fun making it, and I've shown my son since, and he just thinks it's the funniest thing. But for some reason, I just kept getting the same comment over and over and over. Oh my God, aren't you guys so like grossed out that she's trying to monetize her kids? Like, oh my gosh, she's just shoving her kids down our throat.
It was to the point that Emily's brain cells started to change. Like Chris Chan. Or not. Eventually, Emily will make a video called My Problems with a Big YouTuber, Storytime. Emily has insisted that it wasn't Creepshow Art, but someone else.
On October 24th, 2018, I posted a video called My Problem with a Big YouTuber. Don't go looking for it, it's private. It caused way too much trouble. And for people waiting on bated breath, no, that video was not about Shannon.
But Creature must have saw the video and thought it was about her. So what did our good artist do? Make an Instagram story, of course. I'll let Emily read the post for you.
Shannon's post reads, "The people linking me to Emily Artful's video, I've seen it, and no, it wasn't me," plays Shaggy in background. "I've said multiple times that I won't collaborate with other YouTubers because I don't enjoy the implications people get from it. Even if this isn't what the person is thinking at the time, collaborating with someone is a business move. You gain from that partnership. And I never want to be in a position where someone thinks I owe my following, money, and success because of someone else. That's gross. Also, less exciting, and something I might open up more about, but for about 12 years now, I've been harassed online by the girl who catfishes me. I know it's her because she ended up admitting to it last year when I called her out on it, saying it was because she was stressed and didn't have another outlet for it. Also, she felt betrayed because I stopped responding to her emails after a while. Because of her harassing me, my boyfriend, my friends, and sometimes going as far as to try to get me fired, I don't trust people very easily online."
To summarize, this is where Creepshow mentioned that she had a stalker with her. Also, her stalker's name is Amy.
I think it's funny that she picked the name Amy. I think she deliberately picked a name that was very close to mine so that if I ever came out with allegations, she could be like, see, I even chose Amy because it sounds like Emily.
Cool. And how her stalker got her fired from jobs. Cool. Eventually, Emily would confront Shannon about her stalking, which can be summarized like this. Hey, are you stalking me? Like, what the hell are you doing, bruh? I have evidence that your boyfriend was stalking me, but you are also stalking me too, right? I do not know what you're talking about. After this convo, an account called Brita Filter told Emily that her brother was behind the stalking. So is her brother an incel, a 22-year-old, and insults the LGBTQIA community by calling them stuff like the T words and the F words, and of course uses sites like Kiwi Farms and lolcow.farm. N-O. This is the true culprit. Hey, all the stalking you've been through? My 15-year-old brother did that. Let me repeat it for the people in the back. This woman said her 15-year-old brother was behind everything. The stalking, the harassment, the firing, everything. And do you know what 15 minus 5 is? It's 10. I didn't know 10-year-olds can be super hackers, though it is a possibility considering the fact the youngest hacker ever was about 5 years old. But still, a 10-year-old behind all this? Do you want to know what 10-year-olds could do this? George Beard and Harold Hutchins, and even they are fictional characters. And even then, George and Harold mean well. They didn't create Captain Underpants because they didn't want to, they hypnotized Mr. Krupp because they had to. When Mr. Krupp threatened to put George and Harold in different classes, or threatened to send video evidence to the knuckleheads if he read the books. Emily of course asked Britta Filter if they can Skype, but Britta Filter said no. And that's where everything ended. The harassment, it stopped. But if you were paying attention to the dates that these comments were posted, and when Shannon joined lolcow, you can see a strange coincidence. While Emily Artful's video received a moderate amount of attention thanks to her view count, it received a signal boost when other members of the commentary community began commenting on it. But just because Emily Artful was attacked, doesn't mean she was the only victim. Alas, my friends, we end this big chapter and move on to another chapter. It seemed that everyone had their own negative experience with Shannon, and to be fair, most people do. This is Ready to Glare, who, like Shannon, was a commentary YouTuber, but unlike Shannon who did commentary over art or Prismatic over video games, she does commentary over fashion, as in colored hair, tattoos, and makeup, I believe. But why did I bring her up? Wasn't Hopeless Peaches and Emily Artful harassed by Shannon? So why are we here today?
Except that here I was close friends with the person, with Shannon, so it hurt a lot more.
You see, while Shannon had many fans, only a few were personal friends of hers. Now, there are personal friends who we will get into later, and some we have to overlook because they didn't offer much. Ready to Glare goes the extra mile by revealing that, since she had a history of lolcow herself, and not from Shannon, Ready to Glare, I'm gonna call her as RTG, stated that she dated another YouTuber who of course was older than her and spoke Italian, but then revealed that he allegedly offed himself.
So one day I get an email from someone who is an alleged counselor, and they tell me that this person has been found dead, this YouTuber who I was friendly with. I went into immediate freakout, fully knowing that rationally a counselor wouldn't just contact me like that, like they wouldn't just email you like that. The whole process was sketchy and weird.
But then, in one magic Uno reverse card...
But a few days after the alleged death of this friend, one of the admins of lolcow found that this person had been posting past the time that he had allegedly died. So basically what we found out was that he, in fact, was not dead.
You might celebrate the fact that he's alive, but in one more Uno reverse card...
So not only was he alive and pretending to be dead, but they also flagged all the posts where he was impersonating himself. As we know, that's not something you're allowed to do there. And in some of those posts, he had said really vicious and malicious things about me, which was obviously hurtful.
Ready to Glare would then reveal how close she was to Shannon. And this wasn't just online. They actually met each other in person, with Shannon even sending her roses.
And the most confusing and almost laughable part of this is that a couple days before all of this information came out, Shannon had sent me roses to my own house.
Oh, and did I forget to mention that the whole roses part was before she was exposed on lolcow? It's quite interesting to see how a good friend would send you roses and then shit talk you on lolcow. And as the story of Creepshow Art spread, it didn't just reach the eyes of commentators or other content creators, it spread beyond the walls of YouTube and into the real world. Because Ready to Glare wasn't just the victim of Shannon, another old acquaintance of Shannon spoke their story as well, and they went over to Twitter to share their story. Time to leave the safe square of YouTube and into the real world. And by the real world, I mean my Twitter. As we get to Twitter, we get to see how people reacted to the whole Creepshow Art drama. There were of course friends who were heartbroken by what Shannon had done, and how they used to look up to her. There were of course the endless memes being made about it, as well as those who played their own part in the mix. Now before we continue, I'd like to mention that YouTubers who played a role in the Hopeless Peaches drama, Camila Cuevas and Avrona, were not involved with the Creepshow Art situation, as they have yet to say anything about it. Same thing can be said for Weiss and Omnia. Despite making videos calling her out, they too did not contribute much on the Creepshow Art drama. But let's focus on the Marahi's reception with Keys, because they called her Hopeless Peaches and refused to forgive her. They also called out Creepshow Art as well, but like Peaches, the article on Shannon was deleted. Now Twitter. Thanks to Creepshow Art, thousands of users were exposed to her for the first time, and while Twitter users began discussing the situation, one former alumnus came forward sharing their story. A person named Kevin Coulter, who claimed to be a classmate of Shannon's, revealed their story in a very long tweet they made, all read by Bo Blacks.
I never thought I'd find myself related to a situation like this, but I am absolutely in the business of holding people accountable for their actions. So I'd like to share what I know about the situation between Creepshow Art and Emily Artful. In the interest of preventing doxing, I'm not going to include any information that might put someone in danger, but if it becomes necessary for either a court case, or if things get wildly out of control, I can provide more specifics. I met Shannon my freshman year of college in 2011. We shared an English class, and worked on a group project together. Outside of that, at the time, we didn't have much contact. I ended up leaving that school and attending a community college that was close to my hometown. At that school, I ended up meeting my abuser. She ended up completely separating me from my entire support group, and I lost nearly all of my friends. There was a period of a few months where my abuser and I broke up, and this is when I reconnected with Shannon. Shannon ended up at the same community college, saw me on campus, and stopped me to say hi. I was desperate to make new friends, so this seemed like a blessing. She was fine at the beginning. We'd just hang out and share music, but she became concerning very quickly. It started her with introducing me to Anthony's music. She told me that he was her ex. They were still in a sexual relationship. The way he treated her seemed very unhealthy, and I told her as such, but Shannon was insistent he was good for her. Eventually, she shared one of Anthony's music videos that featured Emily, and told me that Emily was also Anthony's ex. Shannon told me that Emily was crazy, and Anthony only kept her around because she was a good singer, among other things. For the next while, every time Shannon and I would hang out, she would fixate entirely on Emily. She would point out all of what she perceived as Emily's flaws, would talk about how all of her tattoos were related to Anthony somehow, everything she could to put her down. I thought it was strange to fixate so much on an ex's ex, but I was desperate for anyone to help me out of the situation I was in, so I ignored a lot of the red flags. I haven't really been able to forgive myself for that, especially considering what came next. Shannon began to cyberstalk Emily, first starting by finding her YouTube page. She shared her videos with me, and I naively thought that was harmless, and it would go no further. But Shannon started looking for her home address, her phone number, or any other info she could find. Shannon told me how she had plans to harass Emily, either by sending her letters or prank calling her home, how she planned to leave hate messages on her videos, or DM her from burner accounts to spread hate. This is when I began to distance myself from Shannon. The distance led me back to my abuser, which is a different story. But one of my last interactions with Shannon was her proudly showing that Emily had posted a video about closing her YouTube channel because of the harassment she was receiving. Emily talked about how much it hurt to lose something that was important to her, but she was also anxious and in pain from the targeted harassment that she couldn't continue. It was at that point that I began to cut Shannon off. I felt guilty since that day, that I didn't do anything sooner, that I didn't go to the police with what I knew, or at least attempt to talk with Shannon to tell her what she was doing wasn't okay. But I was battling my own demons, and none of that seemed like an option. Over the years, I would occasionally receive cryptic messages from Shannon at weird hours of the night, usually just a single emoji, or a strangely written greeting. This caused me to block her on most of my social media. Since then, I've deleted or rebranded my online presence to avoid my abuser, but about a year ago, Shannon found all my new accounts, and added me with no contact. I used this as an opportunity to confront her for what she did. Screenshots of that in the next tweet. I made it a habit to screenshot my actions because my abuser had recently begun to spread incredibly harmful rumors about me. I don't have screenshots of her response because her account has been deleted, but I requested data from my Twitter today to see if I can get it. They then show the DM they sent to Shannon. It starts off with them saying, "Hey there, it's been a while. I'm not sure how you found me, but it's nice to see a face from my past. Glad to see you have a pretty sizable following now, and have found some sort of success. Hope you are doing okay other than that. Life is pretty wild nowadays. When we last talked, we engaged in some very concerning behavior. I was in a really dark place from Victoria, and you were basically my only friend, so I just ignored how bad everything was, and that was very wrong of me. What began as what appeared at the time, a fun little thing to learn more about someone you had tangential connections with, quickly developed into cyberstalking, bullying, and harassment. What happened was not okay, and I should have said something sooner. I should have said something at the time, but I didn't. And that has really weighed on me over the years, so I guess I'm saying something now. We were younger and dumber, but we still should have known better. It seems like a lot of your content is focused on calling out people who have had similar behavior, and I hope that's a sign that you've changed for the better. I'd like to believe that you've changed quite a bit since we last spoke, and a whole lot has damaged me. I've made great efforts to cut off large portions of my life from when we were friends. I'm concerned. I'm very hesitant to let people into my life as it stands. I'm not accusing you of anything malicious, or that you have bad intentions. I've just got conspiracy theory brain nowadays. Victoria constantly stalked me for years after we officially broke up, and once she finally lost her last shred of contact with me, she started spreading extremely malicious lies about me, so she could have some sort of control. I lost a lot because of it, and I've learned not to trust things and not believe in coincidences. It might not be a true lesson, but it is a lesson I learned. I've deleted my Facebook. I'm fairly certain I have you blocked on Instagram, which was either something Victoria had me do, or I did in an effort to distance myself from my past / get over the guilt. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is, but it's fair to give you an explanation. I know I've rebranded my social media presence after we stopped talking, so I feel like to find me you'd have to be actively looking for me, or you've been keeping tabs on me ever since, and either situation sets off a whole lot of alarms in my head. Again, I'm not accusing you of doing anything malicious. I'm accusing me of paranoia, but I am still concerned. And double again, I really genuinely hope you are doing well. It just stresses me out a whole lot to have contact with anyone from that part of my life. I'm sorry. Kevin continues the thread by saying, Victoria, referenced in that screenshot, is my abuser. I use language that includes myself in the past actions, because I was afraid of her targeting me if she hadn't changed, and I just came out completely confronting her. Shannon's response was to brush off accountability, saying, we were just dumb kids. She also insisted that she found me naturally, which didn't make sense as we had no similar circles, and I had an even smaller following back then. She immediately said she would block me so I didn't have to be concerned about her, which didn't seem like an action a guiltless person would take. I thought it was over. I didn't know how much she was doing to hurt other people, but it seems like she never really changed from when I knew her. My heart goes out to everyone she hurt, and everyone who thought they could trust her. This is such a terrible situation, and if anyone needs an ear, please feel free to reach out. If it becomes necessary, I can reopen my Facebook and try to download the data there, as I believe I have further evidence of Shannon's behavior, but I hope this chapter can close and people can find some way to heal from the damage she's caused.
The post from Kevin Adam Coulter contributed more evidence to Emily's claims. At this point, however, Creepshow Art has no defenders aside from a really toxic fanbase or trolls who seek a reaction from the community. You might suggest that family members might defend her, but even family members can have their limits. Let us continue. When cancellation happens, usually your friends and family stick by your side, but even they can have their limits. You see, Shannon was not born as an only child. She had a sister named Jem. No, not that kind of Jem. This kind of Jem. To understand this relationship, we need to go back to 2018. Emily Artful's Stalker was in its final years. The greatest animated movie of all time was out for December, and on the very day that Black Panther was released to the public, a post asking who was the worst person they ever met was answered. So Creepshow Fantasy, who was the worst person you ever met?
My sister, without a doubt. She's incredibly selfish and entitled and doesn't like when there are consequences to her actions at all. When we were younger, she was the good kid because she was super smart and knew how to do well in school. She also ran track and cross country and was really successful in the things that she would do. So our parents never really got mad at her, even though when they probably should have, which is why I am tough as nails and she freaks out when there are consequences to her actions. She is a lesbian and I am bi, and when I was growing up, told me I wasn't gay enough to be in the LGBT and that I was heteropassing, so essentially I didn't have a right to complain about anything. She would also try to get me to date my platonic straight friends to the point where it made them uncomfortable because she was literally forcing someone on them that they didn't want. She also messed with my body image, telling me I had no chest or ass and shaped like an ant when I was growing up, which contributed to my eating disorder. She blamed pretty much everything on me growing up and bullied me pretty badly. She was also very aware that I was injuring myself when I was younger and didn't try to help, something which I forgave her for later on in life because she felt really strongly about it. Most of what I listed I forgave her for before realizing I had to cut her off. I ended up cutting her off because she hated my life partner because he was male. She had this useless vendetta against him since he came into my life and would constantly try to undermine our relationship. She would tell people he was awful to me and to get people extremely worried about my health, when the truth of the matter is we were fine. It was a pretty typical teen drama. Past that, we broke up for a day and then got back together, and she went on a Twitter spree ranting about how our relationship must be abusive, which was subtweeting me as if I was a victim of abuse, which I found insulting because my partner has PTSD and is a victim of the abuse she was claiming. Her Twitter spree was so stupid and thinly veiled that I had people asking me if it was true, which was incredibly insulting. Then she started claiming I was racist and a white nationalist. Why? Because I was living in my car in a city where protests were turning into riots after the election, and I posted on Facebook that I was scared and that people shouldn't be rioting. They had set a car on fire literally a block away from where I would sleep, and it was chaos, but according to my sister, my safety was not important because it wasn't about my safety. She also, at that time, made it clear that she did not care that I was living in dire circumstances, but rather it was my fault for not checking in with her to see how she was doing because she's gayer than me and her feelings matter more. I am not kidding. She told me, quote, "It sucks you're still in your car, but you never once thought about how I was dealing with this. This man is president and he hates me because of who I am, and you never once thought of your queer sister," end quote. But I'm also queer, so like, what? But that was ludicrous in and of itself, and she was fun to make fun of, so I didn't cut her out then. Then she posted a giant post on Tumblr, one that accused my entire family of being jealous of her, including our brother who had passed away only a couple years prior. We are supposed to be jealous because she graduated from a 4-year university and no one else in the family has. She got her degree in broadcast journalism and has used it 0 times since, but I guess I'm jealous. In the post, she also accused my parents of being white nationalists as well, despite them not being that. She also rallied against our family as not caring about her because she's gay, and no one had tried to reach out to her, even going so far as to say that we all hated her because she was queer and that none of us could handle that. But my parents had been nothing but supportive and loving towards her after she came out. The final straw was my dad having a heart attack a few months ago and coming very close to dying. He spent about 2 months in the hospital and still has to go to physical therapy. During this time, my mom desperately reached out to her because she was terrified. I was on the phone with my mom constantly and tried to calm her down as much as possible. However, my sister never reached out once. She still hasn't said anything to anyone, essentially sticking to the idea that everyone in my family hates her because she is gay and everyone is underneath her. Despite my parents reaching out, trying to appease her, paying bills for her, allowing her to put them in debt, and much more. TLDR, my sister thinks she's above everyone in the family because she went to a 4-year university that they paid for, has claimed my boyfriend is abusive because he's a straight male, said our dead brother was always jealous of her and is better off dead, and claimed my entire family are white nationalists despite the fact that we are not. Oh, and told a victim of actual mental and physical abuse that his pain didn't matter because he's a straight white male.
Shannon's non-binary sibling would later to go on answering questions from users who would like to hear her side of the story. In those responses, they revealed their relationship with Shannon, such as how they weren't close until they were 17 or 18, and how their parents were aware of this whole thing but didn't do anything to stop it. She would then reveal about Bobby, the supposed dead brother that Shannon said, by revealing that he was actually their cousin and not brother that Shannon had claimed. When doing this AMA, when asked why, Jem revealed this. They had been receiving a lot of messages and wanted to get this over with. It was also at the time that Enbird, a former editor of Creepshow Art, cut ties with her. He announced in his video that he was no longer working with Shannon, which would later become unlisted, which while viewable, it can no longer be found on YouTube. To mine and everyone else's opinion though, this was the last straw to Creepshow Art's career. Her fans had turned on her. She lost over 100,000 subs. Emily Artful released another video detailing more abuse she had with Anthony and Shannon, followed by proving her earlier statements. Her family members did not want to support her along with her friends, and now associates of Shannon cut ties with her. And now with no one left to turn to, she can only turn herself in. There was only one person to turn to, the viewers themselves. It seemed to Shannon that she may have one shot of redemption left. Has she earned that redemption? As the months passed on, the Creepshow Art drama began to die down. Most notably at the end of July 2021, when a certain webcomic artist decided to do his mom, and with her in jail, Creepshow Art slipped out of everyone's minds. But don't think Creepshow Art was gone for good, because around August, Shannon resurfaced in a DM she had with Tipster, lashing out at him for attacking her husband. But aside from that, nothing major. But on the start of the final month of 2021, a new drama re-emerged. So to any viewers who are still around after the hour mark, do you guys remember Weiss and Omnia? Both surfacing in 2020, calling out Toby and Hopeless Peaches, and being very supportive of each other? Well, you can forget all of that, because around November of 2021, Weiss struck gold when he filed a copyright strike to Akumu for just simply criticizing his channel. Kai and his then at the girlfriend time Omnia had a long discussion about it on Twitter, which is then followed by a stream with English YouTuber John Swan.
I already addressed this on Twitter. Omnia made some takes, and her some of her tweets were integral to understanding some parts of the story, so that's what she's in there.
Why?
Because I can.
After that debate, he deleted his channel, which was then suddenly followed by Omnia's. Of course, everyone was sent into massive confusion, like, what happened? Where did Omnia go? But it turns out we'll get our very answer 2 days after the deletion of Omnia's channel.
Kai Weiss and I broke up because he assaulted me in my own home, and since then I have sought out a protective order against him so that he could leave my apartment and I could feel more safe. Since then, he has also locked me out of my old Twitter account, which is why I'm here. I trusted him with all of my passwords because I loved him, and never in a million years did I think he would do what he is doing now. He has locked me out of my Gmail account that is associated with my YouTube channel, and I'm pretty sure he deleted my channel as well. When I search up my name, videos I've made, or I try to access the link that is associated with my channel, nothing comes up. That is my livelihood, by the way. I rely on that to pay rent, provide for myself, and provide for my cat. Without YouTube, I cannot pay for shelter and food. He also stole multiple items of mine since he left, such as the iPad and Apple Pencil that I used to draw, my speaker, cat food, clothing, etc. This has all happened within the matter of a week. He assaulted me on Friday, December 3rd. I filed for an emergency protective order on the 8th. He left my apartment on the 8th, taking whatever he wanted that belonged to me in the process, and I just came to the realization that he has locked me out of my own Gmail and Twitter, deleted my YouTube channel, and I'm just sitting here wondering what I did to deserve any of this. I don't know who is going to read this, if anyone is going to read this, if it even matters, if Kai is going to try and find out the password to this account and silence me. I don't know. I genuinely don't know anymore. I don't know what I can do. But I figured I ought to try. If you're a viewer/creator who has talked to me, knows of me, has heard of me, or in any way wishes to help me get the word out and figure out what to do next, I would be endlessly appreciative. I have never been in a worse situation in my life, and I really need support. So, wow. Yeah, definitely some very heavy stuff. Holy shit.
Kai then fired back and stated that he hit Omnia in self-defense. So did Omnia threaten you, Kai? Because we saw the damage.
I don't know, like, from the bruises she had, I feel like she can't really be a victim of self-defense there. Unless there's some reality where, like, she was holding a gun to your face, and she, I don't know, somehow didn't fire it when you approached her or something, and then, like, you beat the shit out of her so that she wouldn't shoot you. I don't really know. Like this doesn't make sense to me. I'm trying to envision some scenario where this could possibly be the case, but it just doesn't seem that way.
And then Kai used I'm a black man as a defense card.
Before Omnia thought it would be best to report a young black man to the police, she has been sending me links for things she wanted me to pay for, all while planning on filing a protective order on me.
Disgusting. As if being black shields you from all criticism. Like, oh damn, being black gives you special treatment? Nice. So people can use their ethnicity as their defense. Well, because of that, I can now use I'm not an American because I can sound like this. That was probably a bad excuse, but I guess it's a little more plausible. Kai immediately fired back by saying that he bought those items and showed the receipts of proof of owning them.
On the day she went to the police, she took the $400 Apple Watch that I paid for and lied about being at the location she was at. The phone number that she used to call the police is a cell phone line that I am paying for. All of the cat food and everything I took from the apartment were items I paid for. And unfortunately, the $180 AirPods I bought as well as the Apple Watch she is using to this day are still there. And I have to buy a replacement because she will not return them.
Now before we continue, you might be asking, why are we here today? This has nothing to do with Creepshow Art. Well, if Shannon was never exposed on Locale or Emily Artful, she would still be here today talking about the whole situation. Omnia and Kai Weiss talk about the Hopeless Peaches situation along with the Toby drama, and that's not including the whole Creepshow Art situation themselves. Even Emily Artful joined in on the situation, so despite not having any relation to the Creepshow Art situation, it's still important to talk about this. Kai would then later claim that Omnia was manipulative and controlling, and would stalk Peaches, as in Hopeless Peaches.
His evidence of which is this very weird artwork that he claims she drew of Hopeless Peaches' character. I have this censored even though there's no direct nudity because it's just really weird to look at. I really don't like this image. It really gives me the heebie-jeebies, makes my skin crawl.
After all this banter back and forth, Kai Weiss was suddenly announced to be arrested.
Wait, hold on, we're just getting some breaking news on the air. According to chat, Omnia has said that Kai was arrested for breaking the protection order.
On Twitter?
According to chat, let me check if she said that.
According to chat.
No, she said that 4 minutes ago. Omnia on her official account, Nia XMINI, whatever the fuck that is. He got arrested for violating my protective order. Good night. 92 likes, 13 quote tweets, 20 retweets. It looks official.
But he didn't stay in jail for long, because Kai admits to being arrested, but he'll sue Omnia over this.
I got arrested, but I was let out. Our court date is soon. I'll be present then. Also, telling the internet I have access to the account you're literally logged into to view my channel being on it is really not helping. If there's any indication of attempt to silence, it's this. This really isn't some Twitter drama, and I wish my position wasn't fished for clout, like some big we got him moment. I'm still here.
But part of me doubts that this was ever actually taken to court at all, because around January of 2022, Kyle Weiss returned in a massive twit longer. We're gonna be here a while. Some thoughts, apologies, YouTube and Nia. I'd extensively appreciate it if I wasn't being out there compared to Creepshow Art, LMFAO. My matters are being handled legally, so I'm not making a video on this. She has the right to respond, but I wouldn't do that anyway. As for Emily, I don't even know them, so it's really weird to me that they speak on my name as if our interactions went further than a YouTube comment or Twitter follow. I do think that in most situations, shouldn't be looked at so black and white though. It's been a month, and looking back at everything, I feel like I can settle more into my new life. I'm moving on, so that's fun. I've slowly begun to see how YouTube is like, detrimental to my health, and so is my life with Nia, though there was plenty of good. I don't think that you gotta make 2 hours worth of content in order to prove a point and learn from my own mistakes. You don't need to be rude about it either. So I want to apologize to any and all YouTubers or viewers I was rude to. I was really not in the best mindset a lot of the time, and was dealing with my own personal problems, a lot stemming from my relationship, while trying to maintain my platform. As for my personal situation, I only want to address a few things. Firstly, Kyle Weiss goes over the stuff he allegedly stole from Omnia, by saying that he returned those items, and is willing to pay for the stuff that he allegedly stole back. That's good and all, but then he goes to his next response, by saying that the gifts he took from Omnia were his in the first place. He then says he didn't take everything, and left on his own accord. After that, Kai said he didn't trash the apartment, and only made a mess because he didn't have time to leave. As for the account hacking, he said that it's false, as in Omnia will receive a login notification, and their phone and Apple Watch which is still under their possession after Kai left. He would then criticize Nia for having a history of manipulative behavior, such as taking his cat Gabriella, issues with her family, and problems with Suman. Near the end of the twit longer, he apologized to everyone who was involved, and even to Omnia for misgendering them. What's more noteworthy is that he returned around February of 2022 with a 2-hour-long video detailing his side. And no, I'm not going to go over the video because he repeats his own claims he said on Twitter, but the most noteworthy thing is that he refers to Omnia by their real name, Hana.
This is a JBL Charge 5. It is not the one that Hana has, but like I decided to pick it up because like if I'm gonna move, I'm gonna show that like I don't need Hana's stuff. Anything Hana ever wanted, I could have gotten for them.
As if people are gonna go to their Wikipedia page about them. One thing that I noticed in his video, at least his first one, is that you can see Pokemon playing in the background. I'm pretty sure viewers were distracted by it. Not only is this video 132 minutes long, Kai made another video that adds another hour in length talking about hopeless peaches, because this British YouTuber talked about his video on Twitter. I am not going to go over the video though, but I was able to save the video. Also, he cracks up a lot.
They are not eating at night for one single day. So either they did not buy food the entire week or any time after I left the apartment. Or they were able to buy food, but just didn't choose to do so because they were too busy creating a GoFundMe and dragging my name and calling me an abuser. Ah! Ah! What the fuck? What the fuck?
Shut the fuck up. Stop being a fucking cunt.
Also noteworthy of the video is that he disabled likes and dislikes as well as the comments. Kai would later make follow-up videos about this to repeat his own claims. Kai would eventually delete this channel as well. So that was the end of Kai. Now we move on to prison mate Luke. So where is prison mate Luke? We get our answer thanks to a user known as Timmy. Now before we go in, this information is indeed alleged. What makes this even more noteworthy is that it's only just by the words of someone else. The person who came forward to prison mate Luke chose to remain anonymous and requested Timmy not to show any DMs. So when asked where the prison mate Luke is, the informant said,
"However, I was able to obtain very slim info about Luke that gives us some sort of idea as to where and what he's doing. This person has asked for the DMs not to be shown, so I will simply quote them. I said, hey, sorry if this might come off as condescending, but I was told by someone that you were good friends with prison mate Luke. And if true, I was wondering if you could contact him so me and him could possibly get in touch. I made a critique vid about him a while back, and I think an interview with him would benefit both sides if Luke were to want to come back to YouTube. But yeah, they replied, Hi, and yeah, no. I am friends with Luke, but I can already tell you he's already busy with IRL stuff and doesn't really have much interest in YouTube anymore. I have deemed his source credible, seeing as though the description of the person seems to fit the details they were able to give me. Luke seems to have lost interest in YouTube at this current moment. I don't necessarily know if this means he's entirely quitting or he's taking a very long break, which, let's say he took the latter. He's throwing away a 130k sub YouTube channel that, in my honest opinion, could be entirely revived, which we'll get to later. Let's just say that he is on break. He could still come back at any time and quite possibly revive this channel, but we will never know unless Luke says it in his own words, and that's just the truth. This video might be short, it might be long, I don't know quite yet, but I want to offer one final proposition before we take our separate paths, even though it doesn't have to be done this way. Luke, if you're watching this video, I would still like to have an interview with you and talk about the grave you dug yourself and possibly try to fix it. However you want to do it, interview or not, holding yourself accountable in a very sincere way will help your reputation in this community. That is, if you still care about your reputation, which if you don't, more power to you. But I'm not saying this as some drama-hungry commentary channel that wants to see you fuck up again. I'm saying this as a former fan of yours, Luke. I used to love your content during the summer that you blew up. Your videos were very enjoyable to listen to while doing whatever dumb shit I was doing during the time. But seeing your downfall kind of saddened me a bit. But at the end of the day, it is your choice. Do as you must.
And in all fairness, Timmy has a point here. It was very short, but at least it was somewhat useful. Now, as for my thoughts for all this, I believe that Prism and Luke can recover from this. And this is all speculation, but if Emily Arpa believed that Anthony started this whole mess and Creepshow Art was tagged along, what's stopping me from believing that Prism and Luke was dragged into this as well? Considering that they have a thing for each other, and considering how Creepshow Art started the Hopeless Peaches drama, and how Prism and Luke made it popular, and how often they support each other, to the point where they're almost becoming a couple, what's stopping me to believe that? So there goes Prism, Luke, and Kai. By now, Creepshow was a joke, and was pretty much hated by everyone at this point, with several creators being compared to Shannon in terms of attitude and their treatment of criticism. The lolcow sites like lolcow.farm, Kiwi Farms, and Marahi's reception wikis have moved on to other things. And as Shannon faded out of the public eye, so too did everyone who wanted to move on from this mess. I guess this is the final chapter of Creepshow as we go. Now let me view Kiwi Farms out of pure boredom and... Oh my god, wait, what? I gotta go, I gotta shut this up real quickly. Kiwi Farms, the site that many users outside the forums will call as libel or slander. Even though that libel is print and slander is spoken, you gotta thank Spider-Man for that.
Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
Before we dive into Creepshow Art's thread on Kiwi Farms, it should be noted that Kiwi Farms itself is a controversial site. For one, many people outside the forums take issue with Kiwi Farms referring to transgender people by their pre-transition names as well as their pronouns. In fact, in 2019, the forums was hit by a defamation claim by user Ashley Zoe Fox for calling Ashley he/him rather than her preferred pronouns she/her. This claim never went through and the Kiwi Farms are still up. Another thing that people take issue with Kiwi Farms is the fact that they were linked to 3 different suicides as I mentioned earlier in the video. When you have a site that is known for targeting lolcows, and them being linked to 3 different suicides, with their one on Nier being the most well known, you know you screwed up bad. I can't go into information about all of them, but what I do know is that, following the suicide of Nier, the alleged suicide as they believe that Nier is still alive, they lost their domain registration DreamHost, and moved to another US-based domain registration. There was also the Christchurch mosque shootings that Kiwi Farms posted a livestream on, as well as this manifesto from the perpetrator, when asked by the New Zealand government to take it down. Owner of the Kiwi Farms, Noel, who you might remember as one of Chris Chan's friends, responded by saying, "Fuck you and your shithole country." New Zealand responded by simply blocking the site from being accessed. So, not a very good site in the eyes of the public, but why would I bring this site up in the first place? That's where I get my information for this video from. They were the ones that found the Reddit account, they were the ones that found the DeviantArt account, they were the ones that found the TikTok account, and they exposed me to Creepshow Art's newest video, The Lies of Emily Artful, with evidence. Now before we dive in, I'm aware of other people finding out the video through word of mouth, or stumbling upon it out of pure boredom. And Hopeless Peach just got a pure panic attack from this. And yeah, I know I can't harass her for what she went through, but how would you react to the situation? With the runtime of 152 minutes, Creepshow Art's video on Emily Artful is the same length as these movies. Before we start, I am aware that not everyone has watched the video. For one, it's 2.5 hours long, which is nearly 1/8 of my day, maybe more if you decide to pause it. And the fact that there's a great background in place of a drawing or a video game playthrough. In fact, I'll do it. I'm going to go over to options, change the background color to gray. Bingo. It took me like 9 seconds, and with zero editing experience at all. And the fact they don't want to give her the view, but I still have to give her the view though. You're right, I had to sit through Creepshow Art's 2.5 hour long video to see if Emily Artful was indeed lying. And the like to dislike ratio proves that. So we started with the opening of the video, which is, get this, 3 minutes long.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
After that 3-minute intro, we started with the first part, which is the relationship between Anthony and Emily. But before that, she was in 2 other relationships. Someone named Sean who was cheating on her, and another being a 13-year-old girl that she dated when she was 17.
Now, I don't know if you guys are getting sick of me talking about my exes. I've done a few videos about my love life in general, but now that I kind of think back at it, most of my exes were awesome and cool, and I'm still friends with them, or at the very least, cordial. Now, only 2 of my exes are just completely unbearable. I have no desire to ever get in contact with them ever again, and I have had about 7 relationships of substance in my entire life. The first ex that was just a piece of shit was the one that cheated on me, and his name, we call them Sam. So I'm gonna go ahead and put an annotation for that video right here. I definitely suggest you go over and watch that. It was quite an experience. That's all I can say. The other ex is who this story is about. Penny was a beautiful, charming young girl. We got along incredibly well. She was exactly my type, both physically and mentally, or so I thought. And the only possible foreseeable downfall to our relationship at that time was that she was a little bit immature, and she was a little bit immature because she was 4 years my junior.
However, the video she shows, or in this case the audio, has been deleted prior. Shannon then comes to the conclusion that a post states Anthony's relationship with Emily and with a sociopath. Roll the clip.
This guy is really messed up, and I feel like we're cool now. We don't talk for kind of an important reason, which I will get to later. But, you know, I don't hate this guy. I don't feel resentment towards him. I more feel I have sympathy for him. And I was really close to him at one point and felt really close to him. But I feel that closeness was completely fabricated just because he needed stuff from me. So he injured me greatly. And, you know, subject of many great songs, thank goodness. But, I'd never been hurt like that before. I'd never been hurt as a friend, as a lover, as a sister, as, you know, just pull around like that.
Shannon then goes through how long the relationship went, which was around 3 to 4 months before they broke up, and then goes through Emily's old aliases.
Here's the Facebook page for Annabelle Wanted, which features her own artwork, showing that she went by this name as well. For a list of aliases she has gone by, skip to part 0.
Like, what does this have to do with relationship though? This was also followed by Shannon claiming that Emily moved in with Anthony's grandmother as well as his grandfather, and then claims that she was not abusing drugs.
Emily was well aware of this at the time and was not using drugs while dating Anthony. According to various social media accounts Emily ran between the ages of 13 and 20, Emily didn't do drugs and was in fact very against drug use. She was not addicted to cocaine at 14 like she said, and she never abused drugs until after Anthony and her dated and broke up. Here's a post that she made after she and Anthony had broken up where she states wholeheartedly she's against drug use and against what Amy Winehouse had done to her body, that being all the toxins she put inside it. If she was actively using drugs at the time, this is not a statement she would be making. If she was abusing drugs at this time, Anthony, his grandfather, or his grandfather's girlfriend would have seen any indication of this. There's a history of other family members abusing drugs in their family, and they were very aware of what that looks like, and they would not have allowed it in their home. Emily framing this as 2 people attacking her over past drug use makes no sense, given Anthony's history and the fact that more than half of my extended family has their own issues with drug use, and my parents met in AA.
Oh, okay.
Then Shannon talks about Emily's mental health.
However, when they were dating, she was dealing with intense mental health issues, of which she told Anthony. She has also posted on social media before, during, and after dating Anthony about her mental health history, saying she's bipolar, has BPD, was schizophrenic, has OCD, suffers short-term memory loss, has an apparent brain injury, and more. Here are some of the posts. Ha ha ha. Actually, my OCD isn't as bad as the kind they flash on television. I got brain damage and you don't. Nah 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 shit. 5 facts about me. I have too many mental problems to even type. 3 things I want to do in the next 12 months. Hang myself at a park, carve Zach's name into my arm, make love to Zach.
I stop at that part. You can thank me later. Shannon then states that Emily was misdiagnosed of bipolar disorder, to which she was given lithium and was still bipolar.
And on Facebook in 2009, before dating Anthony, she spoke about how she had been prescribed lithium at a certain point. Is feeling as if the general optimistic feeling of improving self has gone. Man, do I love being drugged up with 1200 milligrams of lithium and still noticeably bipolar. Hey, I like you as is. You do seem happier and more in control compared to last year.
Lithium is generally used for bipolar disorders as well as other mental illnesses. But here's the thing, just because you take lithium doesn't mean it fully cures you of bipolar disorder. Antidepressants like these work differently for other users. Some might feel the effects right away, but some might not feel it at all. Some might go through its side effects, while others do not. And we're talking stuff like headaches, nausea, increased thirst, urination, as well as dizziness or drowsiness. Shannon then claims that Emily has a history of violence, to which it was put on police record.
On Emily's high school Facebook, I also found examples of her threatening violence and talking about how she had previously been violent. In this post she said, "Had her right hook finally come in handy, haha bitch." A friend says, "What happened?" Emily replies, "Violence and possibly a dental bill for someone who is not me. Also LOL." However, she then posts this on December 7th, 2009. Emily has found out negative referrals in high school heavily reflect on colleges everywhere and feels foolish for not thinking of this before. So basically, I'm fucked for college right now. She follows it up with this comment, as in, put on your record and if enough accumulated to the local police files, meaning that she had assaulted enough people that it might have been put on police record.
Oh, okay.
And then states that Emily was abusive to Anthony, and also clarified that she never spoke with Emily at all, at least in person by the way. After that, Shannon reveals why they broke up, by saying that Anthony wanted the relationship to be over, and revealed the truth about Brandon.
Shortly after this tattoo, their relationship ended. Anthony broke up with Emily. The reason they broke up was because of her erratic behavior and nothing else. Emily also lied when she said how the breakup occurred, saying that Anthony's friend, who she calls Brandon, whose real name is Bryce.
Okay, so his name is Bryce now. And what happened next is, I hate to say this, but it's a good point that Shannon made. Shannon claimed that Bryce never threatened Emily by stating that they remained friends even after he allegedly threatened her. Not only that, some of Emily's claims can be done by her word only, and people are more likely to believe Emily artful because she was the one that struck first. And in a case like this, we're not supposed to trust Shannon for this one.
Told her that she was a worthless whore who he was going to curb stomp and kill. This never happened. Instead, Anthony broke up with Emily himself twice. However, Emily wouldn't listen to him and kept coming to his home, kept showing up at his friend Bryce's house, and would try to go places Anthony was going to be, including once to his work where she had to be escorted out. Ironically, she would not take no for an answer. Only because she wouldn't take no for an answer and wouldn't listen to Anthony, did Anthony ask Bryce to tell her to leave Anthony alone, and confirm that he wanted the relationship to end.
It's also important to note that Bryce is an autistic man who loves movies, video games, and art, so much so that during the time frame Emily is talking about, Bryce would often wear halo armor that he built himself when he was out and about. It was kind of like cosplay before cosplay was a thing. She also goes in to frame his interest in the Batman movies, specifically Heath Ledger's Joker, as being a sign of his insanity, even though he's simply a film buff who loves Christopher Nolan and went to school for film.
This claim was followed by Shannon saying that Emily was never really close to Anthony's step-grandma. However, the first proof that Shannon shows that of her not being with a step-grandmother was a screenshot of her claim that she'll hire a lawyer for this, which if you look really closely, I'll help you zoom it in, was her talking about Cyber Monday. For some reason, I don't find it very relevant to the lawyer stuff. There's nothing about her claim that she'll hire a lawyer, and overall, this does not disprove that Emily was with Anthony's step-grandmother at the time. So part 1 is done. How many minutes are we in? Oh boy. So now on to part 2. Shannon stated that after Emily and Anthony broke up, Emily dated other people who she had a bad experience with, but never chose to reveal it.
Some of which can be found on her YouTube channel as recently as last year.
Whoops, my bad. And why didn't Emily reveal it, Shannon?
The first person would be Sean. Emily made a story time about this man that is still live on her channel, claiming that he cheated on her with a crazy bitch who ended up sending her a fake cease and desist because she was so insecure about Emily.
Anyway, I received a message from a girl, let's call her Celine, and let me quickly paint a picture of her. She was at the time, probably 18-year-old Korean girl with bleach blonde hair who fucking loved to party. Every single picture on her Facebook was of her and her bunch of fucking white chick friends doing the peace sign covered in that rave candy, you know, the jewelry that you wear to rave. I don't fucking know. But all of her pictures were like poorly lit with flash, and just all of her friends like, yes, give it, yes, I just want to party. Wow. This is not where this story ends, my friends. Oh no. 2 months after we broke up and I hadn't heard anything from him, I hadn't tried to make any contact with him or any of his friends, I get a letter in the mail, and it's this shitty, like, Microsoft Word, but with, like, weird font typed up letter thing. It didn't look official or like it could hold up in a court of law at all, and it was basically a copy paste cease and desist letter saying like, oh, you need to leave Sam alone, and if you do not stop trying to contact Sam, he will contact his lawyer. And I was just like, wait, what the fuck? I haven't even talked to this guy in 2 months.
Okay, was Sam supposed to be Sean, or...
And even after her many displays of insanity, he still stayed with her.
The other guy...
Oh, that wasn't my horrible editing. That is literally how Shannon cut the video.
He still stayed with her.
The other guy...
The other person, who Shannon calls Carl, is actually Dave.
The other guy we will talk about, we will call Carl.
Later.
A few years after high school, I would think a few years, roughly, I met this guy, and we are going to call him Dave.
So is Carl Dave, or is Dave Carl? I don't know. After that, Shannon claims that Emily was not on heroin, by saying that she was 5 months sober from a DeviantArt post in February 2013, suggesting that she was sober around November 2012.
According to her DeviantArt page, by February 4th, 2013, she was already 5 months sober from heroin, meaning she got clean from heroin in November 2012.
But wait a minute, 5 months earlier from February 2013 would be September 4th of 2012. It looks like somebody didn't study for their math test. And going through the DeviantArt post, we find out that Emily was on Subutex. After that, Shannon shows Emily's I Dated a Sociopath video, claiming that she was 3 years sober.
In her deleted I Dated a Sociopath video, uploaded in 2016, she describes how she dated a person with a history of past drug use who was abusive towards her, and that she was, quote, 3 years sober from heroin at that time.
He confided in me and very openly and honestly told me that he had just come out of rehab and that he had suffered with drug addiction his entire life. And I think some people would say this is a red flag, but I never have and never will see it as a red flag. I guess this is a great time to be honest. I was a drug addict myself for many years, and I have been in recovery for 3 years and have been clean obviously for 3 years, and I understand the struggles that come with being a drug addict.
And since the video was released in 2016, that would mean that 2016 minus 3 years is 2013.
Oh, now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. You have fucked up now.
The struggles that come with being a drug addict. So
this is
again with the abrupt cuts. I guess Ember couldn't help her at the time. Shannon showed that Emily claimed to be sober around 2015, when the previous sobriety date was around 2013.
All the posts I will be citing about her sobriety date being in 2012 are from after 2015, which is when she is now claiming she actually got sober from heroin, meaning she would be purposely giving a false date for no other reason.
So even if Shannon got the numbers wrong, Emily's claim to sobriety wasn't exactly as accurate as she said so. But then again, to Emily's defense, sobriety isn't exactly as accurate as most people thought they were. Emily may have forgot her sobriety date. Who knows? And considering how heroin makes you forget things, as Emily claimed, and how sobriety dates are hard to define, as in the last day they used drugs or the first day they didn't do drugs, it's not really a bad claim though. Shannon shows that Emily used heroin on these dates, and then revealed that she was never speaking to Anthony at all, only to reconnect when Emily got sober.
During this time, she was not talking to Anthony. However, Anthony and her did reconnect the month she got sober.
So, 2015 or is it 2013? Shannon claims that Emily was living with a different boyfriend at the time, before coming to the conclusion that Anthony did not assault Emily because the sobriety date was different, and the fact that she was 6 months sober at the time.
That means Anthony could not have snuck in through her bedroom window in her father's home to assault her while she was high on heroin, the way she stated, seeing as she was never high in that house and didn't move back until she was 6 months into her sobriety. And she kept that sobriety date of November 2012 up until she made a video slandering my husband and I. To summarize, Emily was actively using heroin while living with an ex. She got clean in November, started dating a separate person, and Anthony and her reconnected as friends. They tried to meet up publicly on November 7th, but that fell through. And they made plans on December 28th 28th to see each other in December. Around 6 months later, she moved back into her father's home, where she remained sober, according to her statements from that time until 2021. If Anthony had come over to her father's house at any time after that, she would have been at least 6 months sober off of heroin. She also changed her story to state she invited him over at some point, looking to hook up, but then she was too high to consent.
She then changed her statement again on Twitter to say he came over and she was so high that she was in and out of consciousness, meaning she could not have let him in. Regardless, neither could have happened based on her social media posts.
In a video by Spockter, he shows a Twitter post by Emily blowing Shannon's claims out of the water.
This counter-argument was one of the first things Emily addressed on Twitter with this tweet. She took a picture of an old 2013 court record outlining a DUI offense for drugs. I cross-referenced this court document with the respective county and found the record online. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a real document. This means that Emily was lying about her sobriety date prior to 2016. The reasons of that are unrelated to the situation at hand. However, this document entirely throws Shannon's argument out of the water. This entire situation goes back into unknown territory, and there is still no way to prove or disprove what had occurred on that day.
And I feel very uneasy for saying this, but Spockter has a point here. I'm not saying the assault couldn't have occurred. Emily may have been taken advantage of, but I am also not having a hard time imagining this couldn't have occurred. But for now, it'll always be a he said, she said kind of thing, and unlike everybody else, I refuse to choose sides from this. And that was part 2. Mercifully, part 3 is shorter than parts 1 and 2, and it goes over what Emily believes started the harassment.
One thing that Emily states in her video is that online harassment was never leveled at her until after she started working with Anthony professionally. She doesn't directly give a date, but she does say it started when they worked on the song Stardust together, which would be in 2014, 2 years after they reconnected. She supposes this is because Anthony was going to put me on the song, and she told him I was a bad singer and he took me out to put her in my place.
Shannon states that what Emily said was false, and that Emily worked with Anthony from 2013 to 2014 on multiple songs.
This is categorically false in every way. Emily worked on multiple songs with Anthony, and they worked together from 2013 to 2014.
Shannon then shows the two working on another song, Autumn's Moment, who didn't get on the final cut because she was still being harassed at the time. More on that later. She revealed that she was not in contact with Anthony at the time, as she was dating another man.
When Stardust came out, I was not in contact with Anthony because I was actively dating another person. I have also never been asked to sing on any of his music because I do not sing.
She also said that it was not her on the track, but someone named.
The person who was on the original version of Stardust that she heard was not me. It was a person named Lanaya.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Person named Lanaya.
Milnaya.
I don't get it.
Eventually, she was removed on the track thanks to her boyfriend, who was not comfortable with her singing with another man.
Rather, Lanaya's boyfriend wasn't comfortable with her being on the song with another man, so Anthony respectfully took her out.
Anthony then reached out to Emily, who was the next choice. Shannon then shows DeviantArt posts from 2005 and 2006 of her being harassed before to what Emily claimed. All of them before I was even born. And these posts were Emily in middle school, by the way. And so that concludes part 3. Up until that point, it was all just, oh, it was not me, but a troll. But as we move on to the next part, we see Creepshow Art taking lessons from Kira the Wolf and Kiwi Farm themselves. Shannon claimed that Emily started to receive harassment around 2013 because she was in the anime community, and also because she confused the channel for cam work.
For some reason, she confused her posting on this channel as her doing cam work, even though those are two separate things she did at completely different times, almost a year apart.
Shannon claimed that she was forced into cam work by another abusive ex, before revealing that,
as she is still friends with the man she lived with while she was doing cam work. More on this in part 5.
Shannon shows that Emily went by Emily Sugarfruit through Twitter, YouTube, DeviantArt, Instagram, and Facebook.
All of which are linked below. Keep that in mind. Shannon also revealed that Emily had 3 deleted YouTube channels called Sugarfruit, Emily Sugarfruit, and Sugarfruit Vlogs.
And why is this important, Shannon?
This is important to note because she would go on to say that this channel would lead to her being stalked and attacked online for years, like in this post from 9gag.
After that, Shannon reveals how Emily got fired from her job. Before that, Shannon reveals that Emily was never really homeless in the first place by saying that she lived with her dad. Okay, Shannon had a point here saying that living with your dad is not homelessness, before revealing the walls in the house. What? What the fuck? Hell, in one of those images, Emily is in a bikini. After that, Shannon shows another person in the video, i.e. in the form of an Instagram post, and calls him Bob. Oh, and did I forget to mention that he was the one who forced her into cam work? Shannon says so.
If her story about being forced into camming is true, this would be the man who did it. However, I will prove this story also is untrue.
Wait, what? So did Bob force her or not?
I'm confused.
After accusing Bob of abusing her, Shannon claims that Emily did a bunch of bad things on her YouTube channel, Sugarfruit, such as posting a review video of her while naked in a bathtub. I'm dead serious. Her naked in a bathtub.
Like posting an anime review naked in a bathtub. Emily states now in 2021 that she was high on heroin when she did this, but as established, that cannot be true. The video of her in a bathtub caused a lot of anger in the community because the YouTube anime community is filled with mostly men who saw Emily doing that as a cheap way to get subscribers and attention.
And to prove that she posted a video of her butt naked in a bathtub, Shannon showed several videos of the anime community getting mad at Emily's decision. It's also important that all the videos that Shannon showed are linked down below. Let's check every single link and see if they work. We did it, guys. We actually did it. We found a link that actually worked. The video that the link worked on is nothing to write home about, but the comments though.
Why you being naked?
She has made
Yet another abrupt cut. You know, I should put an abrupt counter on how many abrupt cuts there are. This is what Shannon claimed how the harassment truly began. Following that, Shannon said that Emily posted a video of her dancing in a bra, to which someone re-uploaded and shared with Emily's friends on Facebook.
On July 30th, after the first day of shooting, Emily posted a video of herself dancing in a bra on YouTube, which led to more harassment, with someone re-uploading it and spamming it to her Facebook friends.
Because of the harassment she got from that, Anthony and Bryce had to cut her out of Autumn's home entirely and find someone else.
Because of the harassment, Anthony and Bryce had to completely scrap a day's worth of filming and had to find another person to fill in the role. The person that Anthony replaced Emily with is another frequent collaborator and someone who has had a close relationship with Anthony.
Shannon concludes that this is how Emily got fired from her job. Someone who disliked Emily found out about what she did on YouTube and sent it to her client to get her fired. Or in the text that Shannon wrote, found out about it through a background check, which isn't entirely out of the realm of possibility though. Shannon also states that it contradicts the day that she started camming because she started camming at 2014 when she was fired from 2013.
This cannot be possible because she was hacked and fired in 2013 as shown in these screenshots and didn't start camming until a full year later. This is why I believe she didn't show any of the evidence that she has because the timeline of her story doesn't make sense and negates our involvement.
Emily said in her slanderous video that this firing led to her being homeless after leaving her abusive boyfriend who was forcing her to do cam work, which again, could not have happened.
They got me fired from my fucking job.
Wait a second, are we gonna go over the stuff that she already said before? I'll spare you the boredom. 3 minutes and 45 seconds down to 15 seconds. You're welcome there.
Her and Anthony were homeless by choice. To be fair,
Was that another abrupt cut? Shannon confirms that they were indeed homeless by choice, but that doesn't make her a bad person though. Shannon justifies this as they were in massive debt and did not want to be in more debt.
I have always been open about how I became homeless because of the fact that I did not want to accrue more debt, which is a very valid reason for someone to become homeless in the first place. In fact, in my interview with Less Than a Home a couple years ago, I spoke to other homeless content creators who were doing the same thing. Emily feeling the need to lie about this in order to invalidate mine and my husband's struggles is incredibly disturbing.
Sure, that's the thing, but Shannon didn't answer this.
But from what I'm reading, it seems like anytime she got called out, she would use her homelessness and the hardships she went through while being homeless as kind of like an excuse for her behavior.
But to play extreme devil's advocate, this is Emily's word only.
Basically hashtag van life.
And that was part 4. In part 5, we learned that Emily shit talks about Bob, commits cam for 46 days, and while still believing that Bob forced him to cam work, Shannon is still doubtful about this, considering the fact that they were in a good relationship, and that Bob defended Emily even though he doesn't know that Emily accused him of abuse.
Despite this, he is currently on Reddit and YouTube defending her actions, not knowing she's accusing him of this abuse.
Thankfully, this part was a lot shorter, but for part 6...
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Wait a second. There are 2 part 5s? So is this part 6 or is this part 5 part 2? At least the text fades in and fades out rather than just popping in and popping back out. We start at part 5 part 2 with Shannon saying that Emily and Anthony remain friends after Emily got off of drugs.
However, after she got clean in November of 2012, she and Anthony became Facebook friends themselves, meaning that he wouldn't have needed to make a fake account to get information on her the way she says. She debunks this claim herself without realizing this on Twitter by showing their Facebook messages from this time, where she directly tells him where she is working.
Shannon concludes that, because they remain friends, Anthony did not have to make a fake account just to know where Emily works at. And about the news that Shannon allegedly had, photobucket.com does not allow any form of nudity to be on the site.
Photobucket doesn't allow nude/lewd photos on their site, so the likelihood of this happening is slim. Photobucket's policies are actively very anti-nudity.
Wait a minute, let me read this. I'm reading the content and service limits on the Photobucket website, and for the rules of obscenity, nudity is allowed but no explicit content, and child pornography is also not allowed, which I guess holds up Shannon's claims. The TLDW here, as in too long didn't watch. Get it there because it's not TLDR. But in any case, in a nutshell, Shannon was right by some aspects, but not on all aspects.
The email Emily's
On the hacking of Emily's Facebook, Emily said that the account that hacked into Emily's Facebook account replaced Emily's email and replaced it with,
Why do I have to do this 22 at Gmail? Or 44, it was a double number.
and a quick Google search reveals that,
which is attached to a YouTube channel called Reno 2200. This account was active up until a year ago, posting gaming videos, meaning the person behind this account is most likely the person who hacked Emily. Neither Anthony and I have anything to do with this account.
Shannon, we saw the text from earlier. You literally repeated yourself there. But no, we're just dum-dums.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
Shannon also states in the makeup job that Emily did, Emily never earned her license through makeup, advertised on social media, and got clients through Craigslist.
Meaning that there would be no way to leave a negative review for her services, seeing as she only got clients via Craigslist and social media where reviews cannot be left.
Following that, Shannon shows Emily's Tumblr account, which is no longer active, eyebrows raised, and said that she found no reviews on her Tumblr account. Shannon mentions that Emily had another job at a beauty parlor, not exactly the makeup job, but you get the point, and reveals it to be Peninsula Beauty. Peninsula Beauty also lacked negative reviews, to which Shannon read on Yelp.
But in order to further the point, I am going to go ahead and read those positive ones. So Shanna C. over 6 years ago said, "The ladies here are always nice and helpful. They always ask if you need help, even if you're running in to grab a nail polish. However, yesterday I did need help on some hair care questions. Shampoo, conditioner, hair mask. Had a super knowledgeable young lady helping me. Her name was Emily."
Yeah, let's just skip this.
Who gives a shit?
Then Shannon does the Kiwi Farms approach by saying, "Why would you say you won't do something, but then do it a month later? Hypocrite." Shannon said that Emily won't post her location online out of fear of being stalked, but then Emily would post that she was at Block 34 Eatery a month later. Now how does this compare to Kiwi Farms? Well, remember the 3 suicides that Kiwi Farms was allegedly involved in, and how Near was the most well known? After Near's alleged death, Kiwi Farms owner Noel released his own statement following Near's death. The statement is very long, but I will highlight part 3. The very last sentence in part 3 said that Near came back to emulation development even after he said he will retire. So that's hypocrisy right there. Shannon continued to show that Emily kept posting about her location online.
She also stated where she was working after leaving the beauty supply shop, that being a school.
And suddenly switched to a female British autotone? Are you kidding me? Yes, after that, Shannon showed that Emily posted her location on YouTube as well. And so that concludes part 6. Oh, I'm sorry, part 5, part 2. As we choose to end this part, which is really how the part chose to end itself by the way, we learn that we are 73 minutes into the video. And I feel complete, utter bollocks. We are not even halfway through the video yet. Not even halfway through. And I'm already getting tired of this fake British accent.
Back off, ya spooky bitch!
Part 7 begins with Shannon spending a minute and a half recapping what Emily said about Bryce and Anthony. We actually start off part 7 with a Snapchat timeline, with Shannon saying that Emily could have gotten a Snapchat message around May of 2016 to November of 2016.
However, we can shorten that window even further.
Oh, I must be mistaken then. So what's the date, Shannon?
Meaning, she could have only gotten the Snapchats on the 16th, 17th, or 18th for her story to be accurate.
After that, Shannon explains that the Snapchat messages that Emily got were not just directed at her, but other internet personalities as well, and that the messages in question were actually a part of a promotional campaign.
I have found out that these messages that were sent to Emily were actually a part of some viral marketing done for what appears to be an ARG that is now defunct.
Also, the text is really bright, I can't really read that. Following that, Shannon said that she had no access to the Kilgore Trout account, and neither Anthony because he did not have a phone at the time, and they could prove that through
phone records, Apple ID, and any investigation into this would immediately clear us of all these allegations.
Okay. Shannon also said that she had a public Snapchat account that...
which I used to link in the description of my videos.
Shannon stated that she could be innocent from another YouTuber,
I mentioned that we can prove our innocence in this case to another YouTuber,
whom they don't even refer to, by the way. Shannon also states that Snapchat users receive notifications if their posts get recorded,
screenshot she knew that Snapchat would notify her stalker of.
which surprisingly is true. I actually looked it up. And then Shannon records on her phone.
So I am recording this on my phone very quickly, but I noticed something strange that I overlooked before.
Yes, really, I had to boost up the volume. And then questions Emily's wording of, obviously, if I had to get the police involved, that would be a different story.
Now, obviously, if I had to get the police involved, that would be a different story.
Which is supposed to contradict her previous statement.
I went to the police, I was turned away. I spoke to an attorney, they told me it's not going to be worth it taking it to court. And he said the same thing.
And that if you call the police, you'll get a report on this, to which Shannon says from personal experience.
You would at least get an incident report. I know this from personal experience.
And that all of this is just Emily accusing them of no evidence at all. Out of all of the parts, the age part is actually the shortest, where Shannon says that all the posts that Anthony made was all him. Shannon had no involvement with this.
I didn't write any of Anthony's messages to her. This was all him. For her to say it's me is a lie.
To which, fine, whatever. Part 9 goes with the Rewired Soul drama, and how an account called DatBoyXD harassed Emily. Shannon said it was not her or Anthony on the account, but they cannot prove it.
Well, I can't prove this. We could subpoena this Twitter account to show who it belongs to.
Now about the Rewired Soul drama, Shannon said it was not just Emily being harassed, but everyone else as well, including herself, mainly for being critical of him.
If you were present at the time, you would remember that one person who was critical of Chris ended up being swatted, while another had a welfare check called on them. For Emily to state that she got a message from someone harassing her doesn't surprise me, because everyone was getting that at the time, including me.
And after Emily's video, she made accusations that people pretending to be Shannon were actually Shannon.
After her video dropped, Emily made various tweets accusing other people on Twitter of being me multiple times. None of these accounts were me,
even though there isn't any evidence to back it up.
And most of them were very clearly trolls capitalizing on the situation.
But however, Shannon has a point here. We will get into it later, but if you can't wait that long, let me point out to you that some Emily fans are kind of toxic and will immediately jump to conclusions just because some evidence lines up. Shannon said that Emily makes fans attack people who are critical of her, especially those people who criticize Emily for her lack of evidence.
She also went further to claim that people criticizing her for her lack of evidence were also me, and asked her fans to directly attack them.
Basically speaking, Emily Artful is like a religion to them. Like, if you criticize some aspects of Emily's video just because you can only go on her words here, you're either A, a defender of Shannon, or B, you are Shannon. And yeah, I was somewhat critical of Emily during the beginning of this part, but Shannon does not provide evidence of that as well. Consider this. I show the reception rookies being very defensive about their opinions, and will lash out at people who have differing opinions than them, and will even go as far as to say they do not deserve the breed. Remember, this is a 34-year-old man we're talking about here. In my Problems with a Big Art YouTuber, Shannon said it was also her getting harassed.
I remember when the video came out, I got sent a fair amount of harassing messages saying it was me, and I thought that was stupid.
And that Ellen was falsely accusing her of writing fake names to shit-talk herself. For example, Shannon said that she didn't have as many subscribers as Emily, and had trust issues that predated Emily's video.
I put that statement up saying it wasn't me in a joking manner, and I also stated the trust issues I had with people I met online.
Shannon brings up the messages that Emily censored, and said that she had no reason to censor them.
Seeing as I didn't have a home at that time, she wouldn't have been doxing any place of residence or be doxing me at all. She also knew I was homeless at the time because I told her as much in our direct messages that same day. She chose to blur these images out for some reason, as if they were incredibly sensitive and private, despite them being years out of date.
Even though the messages in question were censored because Emily was asked to by Creepshow Art herself. Oops.
Place.
Shannon would go as far as to claim that Emily lied about the IP address as she couldn't live there, seeing how the IP address led to a library.
If the IP address led to a library, it wouldn't have doxed me and she would have simply shown it. So either she has an IP address for a library and lied to say it contained my docs, or she has an IP address that led somewhere that I never lived. Either way, she lied about the IP address, she blurred my messages to lie about what they contain, and lied about why she cannot show any evidence.
I know what you're asking. What about the locale stuff? Shannon didn't even go over that. Like, it's the most damning evidence we have so far. Well, part 11 sort of goes over that. Keyword being sort of. Remember how Creepshow said that Amy was the one behind all of this?
But Amy did not.
I didn't edit it at all. The audio literally cut out for a second before starting back up again.
But Amy did not.
So without addressing the locale stuff directly, Shannon proves Amy's existence. First off, Shannon said that Amy had features that did not match Emily's character, without any evidence to back it up.
In order to prove my case,
Oh, Jesus Christ, the audio! We then go through the emails that proves Amy's existence. This goes on for 38 seconds, by the way. Some videos I watch on the Creepshow Art situation have pointed out that this does not prove Amy's existence, by the way, and what we are seeing are random screenshots. But one thing that caught my attention was the big VOI in one of the emails. Part 12 begins when Shannon messaging Emily, claiming herself that she got messaged by an unknown source, and that the messages in question are supposed to attack Emily's character. Hopeless Peaches and an unknown artist also got those messages.
She also stated no one else got these messages, but I know for a fact Hopeless Peaches and one other art account that no longer exists also got these messages, because we talked about how uncomfortable it made us.
Without any evidence to back it up. Now we get to see the horrendous things that Emily did. Oh no, that means we must trust Shannon, guys. Emily fat shames women, makes fun of the Jewish community, makes fun of ultra thin people, but most of the comments in question are around 6 to 10 years ago. I think Shannon's like, oh, you're gonna call me racist and transphobic? Well, Emily was a fat shamer and was offensive to Jewish people. She made those comments 10 years ago. It must be the same person that she is today. I know a story, Shannon, and it happened way back until 2018. So any Marvel fans out there, you like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and Volume 2? You know the director of those movies, James Gunn? You know that he was fired by Disney around 2018 over offensive jokes he made on Twitter that happened in 2008 and 2012, to which he apologized for, and Disney later rehired him. There was also Kevin Hart, in which he made homophobic jokes dated 7 years ago, and also apologized for, but paid the price of being out of the Oscars. What I'm trying to say here is that Shannon's trying to say that, oh, you make fun of people back then? Well, you're obviously the same person right now. You could say the same thing about the reception case, as those were made years ago, or at least several months ago. And even though it's short of like 1 to 3 years, the users haven't apologized for those comments and haven't deleted them, even after many DeviantArt journals called them out. We're gonna skip part 13 because part 13 didn't reveal much, aside a 2014 incident between Emily and Shannon about a review on Facebook. Part 14 begins with a history of false past claims, with Emily accusing her own parents for abuse, Emily having a crush on a 7th grade teacher.
Fun fact, I had a fucking huge crush on my teacher. It's just embarrassing and shameful, so you'll see him.
To which Shannon goes in great detail, no less, dating someone named Zach, blaming him for the DeviantArt post she made.
Emily then starts dating someone her age named Zach. She writes multiple times in her blog that whenever he does something that makes her feel bad, it's his fault when she harms herself and injures herself, going as far to say she's going to kill herself on the bathroom floor because he, quote, made her feel crappy. And
then revealed his own DeviantArt account that Emily created for him. Shannon then reads Emily's posts on DeviantArt.
2 days after that post,
another British autotone, this time a male. There's even a post about Emily lying about her miscarriage. That means we have to trust Shannon, guys. Shannon claimed that Emily falsely accused Zach of abuse, before retracting herself saying that Zach never abused her. Bit skeptical, but okay. And then claimed that Emily wants to post nudes on DeviantArt. Yeah, shit got real.
Touch to get his. These are absolutely accusations.
Shannon showed that Emily obsessed over another person, used racist and homophobic slurs, sort of like Shannon more recently though. After spending 5 whole minutes recapping everything, along with a side note that I had to boost up the audio for.
This is Editing Shannon again. I just wanted to come in and note that Emily is saying here,
Emily received a cease and desist letter from an ex-boyfriend of hers.
Then there is her "he cheated on me" video, where she states a mutual friend cheated on her with a blonde Asian woman who liked to party, who was, quote, such a crazy bitch, she sent her a cease and desist to make sure Emily didn't talk to him anymore.
Followed by another abrupt cut, and another audio shift.
Then there is her video talking about her boyfriend's crazy ex-girlfriend.
Emily also states in this video she's only had 2 bad relationships her entire life.
And we are back to recapping stuff again. Can we just skip this part, please? Wait, another part 14? Alright people, it's official. Shannon does not check her videos before she uploads them. Like, who does that? Essentially, part 14, part 2, or part 15, if you really want to keep track, is essentially just
random bullshit, go! Go!
And by random BS, I mean fat shaming, which we already went through, thin shaming, making joke about
lesbians, happy and free with each other,
and being very petty over the most minor details ever, like a woman's breasts.
Letting you all know, as a professional makeup artist, I can tell she's contoured her breasts and that they are not that size.
Tits are tits, man. Shannon claimed that Emily made another account called Raven, and that Raven did not own the Snacky Packy account. But of course Shannon disproves this, mainly because the language of the Raven account matches that of the Snacky Packy account.
However, because of how similar some of these posts are to other accounts, which I will show in just one moment.
Whoa, she was way too close to the mic. The clapping part wasn't me, by the way. That is literally how Shannon edited it in, outside of the crowd effect, of course. After spending 10 minutes comparing the real account to the fake account, Shannon then talks about the hair that was used in Emily's tweets compared to hers. Shannon said that Emily dyed her hair a different color, mainly blonde to a brassy orange to actual orange to blue, all within the span of 2 months. There's also the art, to which Shannon drew that Emily believed to be her, and Shannon said it wasn't her because the images do not match, and that one of them was a commission for another person.
The third one is literally a commission from someone who had darker skin and again looks nothing like Emily. The mediocre on top is not a diss at Emily, it's just part of the commission. None of my art has anything to do with Emily.
We didn't get a subpart about Emily's modeling career. Shannon claimed that Emily only modeled for her own music videos, and that there was no proof that she modeled for anything else.
This photo was clearly taken by herself in her room, as seen by the fact that she's sitting on her bed. These two photos were taken for her music, and here she clearly states that this one was taken for her music as well. In this submission to the Awkward Years project, Emily states that she's a signed working model who does it full time. This was posted in 2015, when she would have been working at a beauty supply shop. There is no proof that she ever modeled for anything besides her own music. No profiles exist for her on Model Mayhem that I was able to find.
Some more minor lies like, oh, Anthony only dated Shannon because she was goth, which is not true to Shannon's words, claiming to only dye her hair black just to copy Zooey Deschanel.
I only started dyeing my hair black after Anthony and I broke up the first time when I decided I wanted to look like Zooey Deschanel.
Revealing that Emily had contact with several people of Shannon's circle, aka not Anthony or Shannon, just past associates. Shannon also says that Emily would talk to people in DMs, even after Emily said that she wouldn't out of fear of Anthony or Shannon, or both.
And that you're interactive. I feel like I made that mistake at first. I wasn't interactive enough. I wanted to be, but I was like kind of shy, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, how do you be shy on the internet? But you can't be. But I feel like recently I've really opened up a lot more. I got a comment who said, you know, I really like her videos, but I just wish she'd interact with her audience more. And I took that to heart. So, and first of all, I'm very glad I did. It's so weird too, because like I would talk with you guys like through DMs, but I felt weird to comment because it was public. I know it sounds so weird. It just feels like DMs. It was like a confessional in a way. I don't know, but that's that. By the way, I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'll mention this in another video or somewhere else. I do receive you guys' DMs. I don't really respond to every single one because I get so many, but I do go through and I read and I respond when I can. Instagram doesn't notify me when I get those kind of DM requests, so just a heads up.
There's also a joke that Creepshow made that Emily pointed out that involves Shannon saying that she was a good stalker, but Shannon deleted it months ago before Emily's video because she found it to be cringy. So you might think the video ends here. I mean, this was everything that Shannon had on Emily, and plus you're probably tired of seeing Middle-earth Shadow War footage. We're only 2 hours and 18 minutes in, and we're not done with the last 13 minutes yet. And up until this point, we only learned how bad Emily Artful was in the past, but how about let's take everything that Shannon said at her word here, as in Emily Artful bad, Creepshow Art innocent. Well, just see how she treats her sister here.
Fun fact, my sister was in opera.
What the fuck is this? This was my first reaction when I saw this. Was the person in the video totally Shannon's sister? After a full minute of that video, Shannon revealed the evil things her sister did, like poop in a mug and smear the poop on their girlfriend's bedroom because she didn't like them.
The person who, their freshman year of Gonzaga University, shit in a mug, walked across campus and smeared that shit on the door of their girlfriend's friends' dorms because they thought they didn't like them.
You know, I don't really want to think about that, so let's move on. Also, no evidence to prove that. Hacked into Eva Sweeney's account out of pure vengeance and got called on by the cops, and intentionally damaging their parents' computer by pouring water over it. Like, this person sounds insane. With the only evidence is of Jem admitting to wrecking their dad's computer, which is just borderline insanity. I remember seeing comments saying that he couldn't sit through the video because it was too traumatizing, so I sat through it for you. Be glad of me for that. Shannon reveals her relationship with Jem, which is of course outright toxic. They did briefly reconnect for a time, around 2019, but that didn't last long. Following this huge mess, Shannon then refers to Bobby, whom she calls her brother, even though Jem said otherwise. Bobby hates Jem because they cut him off.
So, in regards to that, Jem, go fuck yourself.
Oh damn! She actually told off her sister, online no less. If you are complaining to me about skipping to the next part, it's because Shannon publicly announced that she was cutting ties with her sister, and publicly said that she was done with her. The penultimate part goes over Kevin Adam Coulter. Of course, we get this big huge amount of text that I have to read for you. We met at Sonoma State University. We had an English class together, and he lived above me in our dorms. He had a friend named Sam, and we worked on an English assignment together for class. but when we were in Sonoma, we didn't really become friends. When I dropped out of my freshman year after I had- Okay, that's enough. I can't do this anymore, it's too long. Basically what happened next is that Shannon witnessed sexual assault on campus and moved to West Valley Community College. Kevin happened to be there, as he also dropped out of Sonoma, and they became friends from that. Shannon said that Kevin was too triggered to talk to her,
and then immediately went to making memes about my cancellation.
Shannon also said that Kevin was emotionally abusive towards her.
He had previously manipulated me, assaulted me.
And most interestingly of all, they smoked hookah together, to which
he would ash the coal off on me physically because he said I made a funny noise when I got burnt.
Shannon then goes the extra mile by revealing that
he told me that I was too sad to hang out around him and to call him when I was over it.
Kevin was also emotionally manipulative to his ex-girlfriends as well, and would also hack into their social media accounts just to mess with them. And with the end of an era, the story of Shannon has reached its ultimate conclusion, and now we see its final moments. Shannon announced her departure from the great lands of YouTube.
It's over. I am done. I am not coming back to YouTube.
The once great friends that Shannon had now turned against her.
No one in my life, no active friend of mine, not one friend who I'm actually close to, came forward and said, here's evidence of Shannon doing it. No one presented any evidence that holds up even a little bit to speculation. None.
But within the dark recesses of the internet, there lies one Dark Lord, the Dark Lord Tipster. He arose from the ashes of the once dead Shannon drama to reveal Shannon's true colors. Tipster was the chief lieutenant of the first Dark Lord, Emily Artful. They poured all their cruelty, all their false allegations, to sabotage the once career that was Shannon Creepshow Art Campbell, the one video to wreck her all. The people resisted against Shannon. An army of once fans and horrified onlookers marched against the forces of Shannon. They fought for Emily's justice, and Hopeless Peaches as well, as the Luke and Reception Keys have lost their faith in her. Victory seemed near, but the power of Shannon's video was too great. It took out the army of haters, those who wished death on her.
To the people who told me to kill myself, better luck next time, thanks for playing.
Those Emily fans, and even the army of fans who still support Shannon.
To the people who reached out, who said, I don't care if you did it, I still love your content. Don't leave YouTube. I love you. You're weird. Don't say that to me ever fucking again. Do not reach out to me ever again. That is not comforting. I spent all my time trying to help victims of what I was actually accused of, and to be told that my audience doesn't care about that is insane.
It was at this moment that all hope had faded. That I, Cringer, son of the king, fought against Shannon. I took up my father's sword and my greatest weapon, touching grass.
And to everyone else, go touch some fucking grass. I am done. I am fucking done.
Hey Shannon, I'm touching grass. You told me to touch grass, right? So here's something for you, Shannon. With the blades of grass, Shannon had been defeated for good. Her final words were in this comment down below. Any comment asking, why didn't you address this, or what butt muncher said about you in the video with 45 views, if they didn't accuse me of those little felonies, then I really don't care at that moment. There's a difference between people thinking I am a dick, and someone saying I committed little crimes that are so foul that if I was seen on the street by someone and recognized, I would be assaulted. There's a reason Emily got a legal notice and other people didn't, because one thing is more serious than the other. If you can't understand that, fuck you, because it's terrible. Touch some fucking grass. And so that was the video. I was hailed as a hero, and peace was restored between the kingdoms. But my heroic deeds were forgotten almost immediately, as an old draft of Shannon's original script had emerged. It had a far more darker view that is the Dark Lord Tipster.
I do not accept your apology. I will never accept your apology. You are a terrible fucking person who I supported, and I hope you fucking realize that money means a lot more to you than actually being friends with people and being decent.
How was this possible? How has this occurred? And brought up new evils that her friends had done to her, including the one who had forged her icon.
Side note, if any of you dumb motherfuckers who I gave money to want to send it back my way after making your videos saying that you are horrified by my actions and always felt uncomfortable around me, do it. talking to you, Nathan, Camellia, and Vangelica Scob. You are pathetic leeches who I helped, gave platforms to, and didn't ask for jack shit in return. Namely, because I thought we were genuinely friends. I even bought Nathan his computer. How stupid am I? And you literally took someone's word that I owned CP with no evidence. I cannot believe I trusted you. I am the world's biggest idiot for that one. Also, Skittles Juice, the girl who made my icon, you owe me $500. I commissioned you for a new channel avatar. I sent you $250 twice because you said you didn't get the first one, and you never fucking did the work. Give me my fucking $500, you fucking scam artist!
As if that wasn't bad enough, a news thread emerged. Okay, that's enough Lord of the Rings for the time. Like, you deserve a medal for getting this far. But for now, let's talk about the video through an analytical perspective. Because even if you ignore the old accounts that Shannon brought up, or how Shannon is portraying Emily in an unsympathetic light, there were still problems in the video. First, the editing errors. I tallied them up and the results are... I counted 31 mistakes here, which is all done by Shannon herself. I tallied them up for funsies, not out of cynicism for Shannon. I counted 16 audio ships, 2 British autotones, 1 bright text, 10 abrupt cuts, and 2 repeated parts, with the runtime of 152 minutes, leaving us with a mistake every 4.9 minutes. For bonus on average, for every 9.5 minutes, there's an audio shift. Every 15.2 minutes, an abrupt cut. British autotone and repeated parts are tied for 76 minutes, and bright text, once. Hey, my editing is not the best, but come on, I can make fun of Shannon. The most notable editing error is, of course, the very bright text that the audience can't see, and that's it. It's unknown if Shannon will return from this, and yes, I mean unknown, because...
He's back.
Again, someone on the locale forums noticed a deleted video on her channel, where people believe she might return for another video, and I hate to admit it, but she might return too, with a massive victim complex. In Shannon's video on Emily Artful, Shannon said that she got death threats over this, to which she doesn't show screenshots of.
To the people who told me to kill myself, better luck next time, thanks for playing.
And let's not forget her final line.
I'm fucking done.
Okay, not that one.
Go touch some fucking grass.
Yeah, that one. By touching grass, she means to go outside, as in you spend too much time believing everything on the internet, rather than spending real life outside. Sure, you have a point right here, but you also need to touch some grass, Shannon, as in probably get a job to get over this or something. There's also the stuff that Shannon didn't go over, as in the aforementioned lolcow.farm, the Brita filter account, and the most famous one of all, the Hopeless Peaches situation. Like, you very briefly went over it.
But I know for a fact Hopeless Peaches, and one other art account that no longer exists also got these messages.
Especially if Creepshow Art was threatening Peaches in Peaches' video. But the biggest problem I have with the video is, where's the artwork, Shannon? You're called Creepshow Art and you don't have any art. Any viewers watching my video would just see a blank gray screen. There was also the leak of the original draft by Nicholas Diorio. It was later revealed that the original person who got the draft in the first place was Cecil McFly.
I leaked the draft of Creepshow Art's Emily video to a YouTuber named Nicholas Diorio, so we all could continue to laugh at Shannon, because f*** it, and f*** her.
And on the topic of the original draft, guess how big it is? No, not on page numbers. It's 112 you're asking, but file size.
Oh my god!
It's not only big, but very big. Like 1/10 of a gigabyte big. And of course the belief that Creepshow Art only returned just to keep her channel monetized. Even if Creepshow Art's video has been disliked, it still gets money anyway, from ad revenue. I get that this is the reason why people are telling you not to watch the video, but they're not trying to stop you, so it's free game. The only consequence of watching the video that I can think of is that you get Creepshow Art money for it. A person with a massive victim complex, and made $20,000 a month, and bragging about it on lolcow. Following Shannon's video is Bryce's video.
Hello.
Unlike Shannon, I actually kind of felt sorry for him for that one. But still, the video had problems of its own. For example, he has autism. He can't do anything Emily accused him of.
Given that at the time I was a 90-pound untreated autistic man.
Adam Lanza, Christian Weston Chandler, and my own example, Gruss. Gruss admits to having autism and ADHD, yet still finds it legal to shout death threats towards Zoe Quinn and any other SJW. I don't know why Bryce said that autism can't make you do that kind of stuff, but part of my devil's advocate believes he's only saying this just because everyone is against Shannon to the point that anything that speaks out against Emily's character, whether biased or unbiased, is either a troll or a sock puppet of Shannon. So I don't think Bryce can say something like, I didn't do it. Bryce also used, I'm scrawny, I'm only 90 pounds, and also into Halo cannot do that kind of stuff. But the thing that put my foot down on all this was that Bryce claimed that the whole video was a cash grab, as in Emily's video on Creepshow Art was all just done for money.
As for the video in general that she's put out into the internet, in my opinion, it is a blatant cash grab off of a YouTube video. A results of a Amber Heard cancel culture.
To which ironically, the Emily Artful fans have done it too, but still, I don't think it was a very good video, like far from it actually, and I cannot stress this enough, the reception with Keys. I am only bringing this up because I made a mistake in the earlier part of the video. I did say that Reception with Keys deleted their page on Hopeless Peaches out of backlash from users on the site. I can safely say that I was spot on about them not apologizing. However, the page on Hopeless Peaches wasn't deleted out of backlash, it was actually deleted because it violated Marahi's guidelines. This also explains why Creepshow Art's article is removed as well. Also on a side note, Load900, the guy who said that anyone who defended Hopeless Peaches is a toxic fan of her, was banned for, and I quote, heavy harassment towards other users. But Dark Matter Man 4500 still exists and is currently a bureaucrat, basically a high-ranking officer. As we go back to Creepshow Art, I found two moments that I cannot just ignore. Like, it is so interesting to actually pass up. The first one I was able to find was a person on Reddit saying that Creepshow Art has returned under the guise of another YouTuber, as if Creepshow created a new channel and uploaded through there. Now, channels calling themselves Stan Creepshow Art or defending Creepshow Art are nothing new. They just want your attention, and of course, they got what they wanted. Also, Kinemaster. That's a great editing service, guys. But still, their evidence here to prove that it's Creepshow is that certain speech patterns line up, and the date of the channel being found was December 31st, 2021, the day Creepshow Art uploaded her video on Emily Artful, and her last video to date. The channel that the Redditor was referring to happens to be called Dreading Crime and Psychology. While other users debunked this, the original Redditor had said the voice could be altered, which seems highly unlikely, given how Shannon would not understand how to use a voice changer. And do you know why voice changers are used? They are mainly used for pranks, or just done for fun, not out of pure malicion or hiding. And when it's done out of pure malicion, it sounds like this.
Hello, this is an urgent warning from the government of the United States of America.
This is one of many and sounds like Microsoft Sam.
Hello, my name is Microsoft Sam.
But my point still stands. And you mean to tell me that this
snacks to make sure he didn't need to get up mid-level to eat. He'd raid his parents' pantry for chips, sweets, and whatever he could get his hands on.
Sounds a lot like this.
Sure, did she purposely go out of her way to tell people that she knew I liked and admired in this community that I told her I liked and admired, that I was a terrible person who deserved to be taken off the platform? Absolutely yes.
However, he sounds more like Satsumo than anything. Just listen.
By the time he was done gaming, they would all be gone. In a couple of hours, he would have mindlessly eaten his way through multiple bags of Doritos, Cheetos, boxes of Pop-Tarts, cereal, and liters of soda.
Medallion made out of Crayola Mono Magic. It is the symbol of his love and devotion to his creation of Sonichu.
There's also this comment that said the amount of research and editing doesn't fit Shannon as we know her today, and I am more inclined to believe that this is not Shannon, because I highly doubt they know who Shannon was in the first place. This channel goes after confirmed predators and not Shannon because it's alleged. The second one I am bringing up is from lolcow.farm, and this one is far more serious than the first one. So you guys know how Emily accused Anthony of sexual assault? The users on lolcow believe that Anthony had taken advantage of more women than we previously thought, and their evidence? A Reddit comment. Trigger warning. I'm asking you to skip this part because it's way too triggering. Like, actually skip it. It's very triggering. I'm not stopping you. You're still here? Okay. Let's go through it. The Reddit comment in question stated a user who happens to be called Boundmass was smoking drugs at the time. specifically pot. However, the pot she was smoking with was laced with what the user called K. She was knocked out and dragged to a friend's bed. The user said that she was fully conscious at the time, and that someone, whom she calls Anthony, assaulted her. However, there are differences here. The user claimed that she was fully conscious at the time, and that she was threatened with a weapon. We're not even over yet. The user had also stated that Anthony had forced her into the bathroom and left her there for hours. And the worst part? She was only 15. If you managed to get this far, I applaud you. You actually deserve a medal for sitting through this. Now, why did I bring this up in the first place? The lolcow user had said they are 100% certain that this is the same Anthony. Already, I can see some flaws. The assault happened 11 years ago, as the Redditor had claimed. The Reddit post in question was made 9 years ago, making for a grand total of 20 years ago. I don't know Anthony's age. According to Shan herself, Anthony was around 18 years old, around 2011, which would make him around 28 to 29 today. Do you know what 28 or 29 minus 20 is? It's 8 and 9. 8 and 9. You mean to tell me that an 8 to 9 year old would do all this stuff in the Reddit comment, but the fact that this event happened 20 years ago, with you saying that you're 100% certain of everything, makes me grind my gears? Well, no, I'm not buying it. You know how earlier in the session that I kept saying that new stuff kept happening even as it was editing? Well, someone bailed out, and let's go. It's time to celebrate, guys. Prisonmate Luke has returned. June 12th of 2022 rolled around with Pride and our upcoming Beavis and Butthead movie, but it wasn't all rainbows in our dumbest science fiction movie ever made. A video response by Prisonmate Luke was uploaded to his channel, his final video. The video in which he comes forward to admit his wrongdoing. Yeah, it didn't work for the general public. I have to step in and say that harassing Prisonmate Luke isn't okay, and it'll make you look just as bad as the person you are harassing. The video in question explains what happened to Luke during the time that he was away. However, you can't really win your audience over when you say you would run away from what you have done.
I just wanted to try and get away from this all and run away from all of it.
Luke also says that he messed up at times, but then doesn't ask people to sympathize with him.
That said, this isn't a sympathy upload. I fucked up a lot, and it wasn't fair to just drop it all like it was nothing.
Following this, Luke said that he will take down his videos that he doesn't agree with anymore, like the Hopeless Peaches situation.
Also, just to be clear, I'm going to be privating some of my older videos I don't really agree with anymore or want to leave up. I'm not sure exactly how many I'm going to be taking down, but especially with some of my older drama videos like the Hopeless Peaches ones, I don't really want to leave those up and feed into the drama anymore, especially since it's gone on for so long that I don't even really know what's up with it anymore.
Some people point out that Luke didn't delete the videos and only unlisted them, meaning that you can still watch them on the internet. But as much as people would hate me to defend Luke, he doesn't provide the links to the videos, resulting in others doing it for him. And even if Luke deleted those videos, I don't think it'll do much, because the damage was already done to those who support Peaches. Luke also said that he would not support Shannon or Creepshow Art anymore.
Especially since Shannon or Creepshow Art turned out to be a terrible person, I don't really want to leave that up to kind of support her anymore.
Which brings me up to my last statement. I remember how I said that Luke may be manipulated by Shannon because they had a thing together, often referred to as a romantic couple. What's stopping me from believing that Prisonmate Luke was dragged into this as well? Considering that they have a thing for each other, and considering how Creepshow Art started the Hopeless Peaches drama, and how Prisonmate Luke made it popular, and how often they support each other, to the point where they're almost becoming a couple, what's stopping me to believe that? Also because Luke got information from Shan during the Peaches situation.
Now before Peaches or anyone else says that I'm faking these or something else stupid, I got these from the lady herself, Creepshow, so don't try and say these are fake.
Makes me think that Shan would give false information to Luke and then have him do his own thing without Luke realizing that he was played by the person who gave false information to him. After all, Tom Dark called him a terribly stupid guy.
That being said, I personally would say that I don't think Luke was a terrible guy. I think he was just a terribly stupid guy.
So what is my response? I have generally mixed feelings about this. To Luke's credit, the response was very brief, and it probably allows some people to heal from this. But at the same time, saying that you messed up isn't really gonna win your audience over. And as much as I hate to have a bunch of pitchforks aimed at me, I just wish Luke would come forward, admit his mistakes, and moved on. When you compare how Creepshow Art treats the drama, and Recession Wiki's version, with only one comment saying, hey, hasn't she apologized? It makes Luke look like a normal person. Luke may win some fans, and I can't blame them. And as much as I hate to admit it, I used to believe what Luke said about Peaches too. And this is where people say that he's a criminal, a YouTuber who is painted as unsympathetic, spiteful, and saying that he deserves to go to hell. despite other YouTubers being much worse than him. And at the end of the day, he is just one person. But with that, I could say that Luke isn't coming back, and maybe he might learn something from this, or not. I like to take a special mention of the tweet Peaches said about Shannon's anti-Peach squad, which includes not just Shannon and Luke, Weiss, Omnia, Avrona, and Camila Cuevas because they slandered Peaches. I also had Minty Unicorn to the list because she also sent her DMs, and if you really want to dig it further, reception wikis. And no offense to Peaches, but just stop, someone who criticized Luke and Shannon agreed that Peaches was not a good friend at times.
Technically speaking, the drama had been sufficiently ended by this point. We in the commentary community have mostly surmised that Peaches had in fact messed up in many areas, and in some cases she'd been a bad friend. But that the hate for her was overwrought, and some of the people who decided to talk about her seemed to go in with bad intentions and made claims which I would argue were nothing less than cruel. Luke.
So I'm not treating her like a messiah-like figure. What I am trying to say here is that no one was good during the Peaches drama. The anti-Peaches squad overacted and took it as their dog died, while Peaches herself overacted, and, to say the least, didn't make good decisions. The issue with Peaches should instead serve as a precautionary tale on the internet, a tale that happens when you take a simple disagreement too seriously and escalate to the point where it becomes news.
This isn't petty drama for the sake of tea or blood sports online. This is a person going around trying to end people's careers by outright lying about them and then pretending that somehow, someway, because of their lies, they are now the victim. Also, this video isn't meant to cancel anyone.
Shannon took the drama like a popular school bully and profited off of it alone, to which other YouTubers piggybacked on it, letting them take the fall before we know who Shannon really was. Speaking of which, we really need to talk about Shannon as a person. Even before the Emily situation, we know Shannon as someone who's prone to emotion. The right opinion summarizes her behavior as adapting her toxic personality on a growing site like YouTube.
Shannon simply didn't. She just adapted her toxic behavior to an evolving environment, which enabled her to garner the upper hand in certain social situations.
Peaches summarized Shannon's tone without Emily's assistance, and called it a threat.
Not only if I, but if anyone else made a video in my favor or shared proof of her lying about me. I mean, it now seems she was bluffing, as the writers of the document Spivey and Scritus did respond, as well as others creators such as Just the Robot, Just Stop, etc. But in the moment, it does feel like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place.
And I have to agree with that. Shannon talked about other controversies, added her own behavior to this, causing the claims against the person she is criticizing hold more weight. In that very case, we need to go back to the first 3 minutes of her Emily Arpel video. I forgot to mention the beginning of the video, but the opening 3 minutes was meant to describe what Shannon was planning to do with Emily. The video starts with saying that Shannon's lawyers had discussed the situation with Emily's lawyers, or had Emily sued for slandering her and Anthony, which Shannon says so a lot. On February of 2022, Emily literally said, "I'm done, Shannon," with a 96-minute video that is the same length as these movies.
I'm not going to go over Shannon's video point by point. That would take forever.
You say in a 96-minute video? He says in a video over 3 hours long. Let's start out with the opening thread of Shannon's video. Emily said that Shannon's lawyer had sent her a letter saying that she must remove her videos on Shannon, delete every social media post that mentions Shannon, and not bring up Shannon at all in later videos or posts.
Shannon's lawyer sent me an email a few weeks ago threatening that if I did not remove every mention of her and her brand from my social media, that she would be forced to take me to court for defamation. They also asked me to make no mention of the letter they sent me while doing so.
Emily did not go through with that. The letter Emily brings up was examined by Kiwi Farms, and they believe that it was set up by a site known as minklaw.com, or is it minclaw.com? The site specializes in defamation claims made against people who believe they have been slandered. In Shannon's case, she went over to the site and had them send Emily a long letter telling the latter to remove her videos on the former or else they'll take legal action, to which she didn't, which is probably why in the last segment of Shannon's video, in which she announces her departure from YouTube, I remember the right opinion calling it a kamikaze mission.
Just so you know that there will be bombshells dropped. However, rather than a shot at redemption, this Creepshow video was much more a kamikaze mission.
But I call it a huge amount of money going down the drain. Let me explain. First off, lawyers aren't cheap. The amount can vary, but it's still pretty expensive. And when the person being accused can't hire a lawyer, then when either A, the government hires a private lawyer for their own funds, or B, a public defender will be hired to represent the person. But since Shannon makes $20,000 a month, it wouldn't be such a problem to hire a lawyer to defend her and Anthony. But instead of doing that, Shannon used mink law to remove Emily's video. Think about it like filing a copyright strike on YouTube, but way more expensive. The amount is variable, but on average it must have costed around $5,000 to $6,000. How do I know that? Since this case was not taken to court, we can call it a non-litigation case. Litigation means the process of taking legal action to court, in other words, a lawsuit. But since this case was never taken to court, we can call it a non-litigation case, or outside of court. And aside from Anthony, it seemed that Shannon was also angry in the letter because YouTube is her main source of income.
In the letter I received, Shannon alleges that I was the one solely responsible for her having to abandon her YouTube channel, thus losing her primary source of income.
So $5,000, which is about as much as a used car, down the drain. I'm not going over Emily's video part by part, but I can offer some highlights. At one point, she defends Bryce by censoring his face, believing that he's been misled by Anthony and Shannon. Now on to the storytime videos. Emily says that in her storytime videos, she changes certain details to protect the people she is talking about.
I would deliberately switch the roles around, change the details, and retell the story with me as the protagonist instead of the clumsy, embarrassing drug addict or drunk.
I can only imagine Shannon if she wants to come back, taking this as one of Emily's lies. Like, you have to be 100% truthful of everything. For example, Shannon claimed that Emily dated a girl when Emily was 17 years old, but the other girl was 13.
Was that she was a little bit immature, and she was a little bit immature because she was 4 years my junior.
But Emily states that she reversed the roles. She was actually 13 and the girl was actually 17.
It was a clip of me discussing a relationship I had when I was 13 with someone when they were 17. In this specific story time, I used the control reversing tactics I had discussed earlier, so I was discussing it as if I were the older party.
Shannon took what Emily said at face value, and even if what Shannon said about Emily is true, both Emily and the girl knew that the relationship was inappropriate and ended it there.
This person obviously realizes that the relationship was inappropriate in nature and has since owned up to it.
Still to this day, Emily doesn't hold any ill feelings towards her. About Bob, Emily brought Bob in to defend himself. After all, you can't jump to conclusions until you have enough evidence to prove your case. Ahem, lolcow.farm. Now comes the really juicy part. So you guys remember Shannon's original document? You know how Skittles Juice drew Creepshow Art's banner, but later regret working for Creepshow Art after Emily Arpel's video? Well, apparently she's a scam artist now.
Also, Skittles Juice, the girl who made my icon, you owe me $500. I commissioned you for a new channel avatar. I sent you $250 twice because you said you didn't get the first one, and you never fucking did the work. Give me my fucking $500, you fucking scam artist!
Yeah, this will never get old. How did Skittles Juice respond to this? Well, unfortunately, the Discord messages she had with Creepshow are gone, so we can only go on Skittles Juice's words here. But since everyone doesn't trust Shannon, Skittles Juice's response holds more weight. In a tweet, Skittles Juice had said that $250 of those dollars were sent to another artist by accident. Shannon joked about it and sent another $250 to Skittles Juice. But before Skittles Juice can start working on the project, Shannon bailed out. What makes this even more hilarious was that the amount paid on the commission was way over the cost. The price varies, but the most expensive I can see is a fully colored, shaded with a background, $160. Shannon paid $90 more than the highest amount. After Skittles Juice debunked this, we learned from Emily that Shannon actually scammed another artist, allegedly, way back in 2020 before the pandemic.
When she herself allegedly scammed one of her viewers out of $400. And to be fair, this is completely unrelated to any claims made against me specifically, but this person came to me with valid evidence and I believe they have a right to be heard, especially after Shannon tried to call another artist a scam artist.
The person who got scammed, who wished to remain anonymous, gave Shannon $400 for her project, but considering the fact that this person is from the UK, is it in British pounds or US dollars? I assume it's $400 because Emily said so.
$400.
But as of now, we do not know. The artist asked Shannon to do a speed paint of one of her characters and give her project a shout out, but only completed the shout out.
And Shannon would do a speed paint of M's character in one of her videos, as well as give M and their passion project a shout out. Shannon posted a video, but only gave M a shout out and did not fulfill the rest of the agreement.
And the worst part of all of this, when Shannon did not do the speed paint, Shannon promised to do an unpaid art piece, to which she didn't do. The artist used additional money to get Shannon's attention, but Shannon never gave that attention in the first place. 11 pounds down the drain. And this is it, the end of Emily's video on Shannon. Most viewers expect it to be the end of Creepshow Art's story as we all speak. After all, light shone through the dark clouds for the first time, and everything seemed to be returning to normal, except that it didn't. Let us continue. After Emily's video, it may seem that we closed the book on Shannon as we speak, but it didn't. Emily may respond on her own accusations, but against Kevin, Adam, Coulter, and Jem, not really. While Shannon blew up her own career to the point that no one can trust her, if we can pretend to believe that everything said against Shannon's detractors are true, with only Emily debunking them, we still do not know if the accusations made against Jem or Kevin, Adam, Coulter appear to hold up. It honestly feels like Shannon made up those claims because it was personal for her, which is why she went into an angry tyrant in the original document. I read the leaked script, which is pretty much the same as the final draft, but there is some evidence that stood out to me, such as how Amy's name was actually Stephanie. Plot twist! Another notable change is in part 11. Shannon wrote this section as if you were Emily. Literally, she blames Emily for her cancellation. I'm gonna try to match Shannon's tone of voice when reading this. Just hold on. People change. You seem like a fucking jerk who would harass people who are just trying to get a soda and post about it online. And I probably wouldn't have liked you. But who fucking gives a shit? And I'm only making one now because you falsely accused Anthony and I of stalking you, while also saying you have no evidence and will lose a court case. Because you're lying. And you know you're lying. Like you lied about everything else. Also, the thing that the person sent me wasn't about that, or whatever video you think that I have that I don't have. I don't remember what it was about or what it linked to, mostly because it happened way back in 2018, before you sent me those messages, but also because I didn't care enough about it to screenshot it, and the whole framing of the message was incredibly uncomfortable because they were trying to pit me against you, even though I never viewed you as a threat or competitor. We do different things online. Shannon would also go on to describe Emily's character, not just in previous posts, but also currently, as Emily said that she seemed like God did all the work, describing Anthony as the kind of person who would travel cross-country to kidnap and kill her. There was also a screenshot of Emily's DeviantArt interacting with the actor who played Chuck from Footloose, as in which Footloose? The one from 1984 or the one from 2011? After that we go to Jem Campbell, as in Shannon's sister. In the leaked document, there was a link to an account owned by Jem on Tumblr, and as I looked for the Tumblr account, I did find 2 posts that does verify that Jem knows Shannon, and that they were indeed sisters. Also, by the way, none of these posts support Shannon's claims, which I think is the reason why Shannon changed it in the final draft, before calling Jem the worst kind of person that ever existed, at least in Shannon's perspective. Shannon describes Jem as someone who loves everyone, but then later would express hatred towards their friends, their parents, and Shannon herself, all without backing it up. Jem literally tweeted on my mother's birthday that she was a Capricorn. Get it, like Capricorn, but crap. Way to make your mother cry on her birthday, you fucking toenail. And I did it for someone who fucking admitted to try to pressure my straight friends into sexual situations without their consent, lying about me online and stating my husband is abusive countless times. And they had the audacity to post on Twitter bragging about how I sent them money, you know, to help pay medical bills, because apparently giving a fuck is really funny. And then post destructive lies about me on Twitter because isn't it so funny that Shannon's being cancelled. Shannon is apparently the younger sister of Jem, because younger siblings are always meant to be the mess up. There's also someone named Mason in the script, but honestly, who's Mason though? Is he meant to be like Bobby or Shannon's, you know, father? It honestly feels like a giant angry comment that Shannon would write on YouTube, because the tone here would make Richard Marcinko blush.
Pencil dick.
I also discovered that Shannon apparently has children. God forbid them having a mother like this. Shannon then went over Kevin Adam Coulter's response and said that he was physically abusive to her, which also didn't make it to the final draft. There was also a friend who Kevin hung out with had an eating fetish and also dealt with sexual harassment from that friend, and Kevin was known into hacking his ex's profiles and deleting their work. Shannon mentioned a time where Kevin would force her to watch one of his ex's old videos and make fun of her singing. Oh, and this happened multiple times. I remember that Nicholas D. Oreo saying this may have been cut out due to hypocrisy.
It's quite the read on its own, and I assume this section was massively cut down due to hypocrisy.
But it honestly feels like Shannon cut it out because she went over an angry tirade that isn't relevant. I looked for the document, or both documents, the unreleased draft and the final draft. The name final draft raises a bit of question to me, because something called the final draft implies that there was a previous draft before it, and while yes, the previous unreleased draft was the one we saw, maybe there could be more drafts out there, as in a third or maybe even a fourth draft. I wonder if these alternate drafts would talk about the other accusations made against Shannon aside from Emily. I wonder if these alternate drafts are more harsher in tone or more lighter in tone. I wonder if these alternate drafts would lash out at the audience for believing Emily despite there being no concrete evidence against Shannon. But these 2 drafts are all we got. And with this being the final piece of Creepshow media that was released to the public, it brought the end of an era as we all know it. But it also brought a domino effect that destroyed the once commentary community that had previously dominated YouTube.
I want to be done with this. I want to be done with you. I want to detach you from me like a barnacle from a ship.
And to everyone else, go touch some fucking grass. I am done. I am fucking done.
What I'm saying is,
From this point forward, I'm only going to make videos that I enjoy. What this means is probably no drama, no call-outs, no more of any of that kind of stuff.
In the days and even months following Emily's video, many commentary YouTubers who were involved with Shannon either directly or indirectly announced their departure from the commentary community. Whether their reasons being due to mental health, growing bored with the content, or just finding interest in other topics, Shannon's cancellation marked the end of an era of commentary as we all know it, with many of these former commentators looking forward to a brighter future by reviewing cartoons, movies, and just quitting YouTube altogether. As for the people who played a role in Peach's cancellation, recently Omnia, who was Kai's significant other formerly, got themselves in a bit of hot water. Mainly tracing, of course, but if you go to their Discord server, you could find them writing fanfiction of Kai getting arrested. Oh, and assaulted, of course. As for Camila Cuevas, I found a Kiwi Farms page on her being somewhat rude to her fans, such as calling one of them retarded, another insufferable, although the picture won't load for the screenshots, like seriously, why? And a issue on Patreon where a user saying that they'll cut off support, to which Camila said, "You're just easily offended." Hey, so this is me post-recording, post-editing, with 1,000 retakes on almost everything, because some of the audio got corrupted, but this is a new thing I actually found. While I was browsing through Camila's Wikitubia page, I found a link to a video, and I was like, what is this? And then I click on the video, and oh boy. So you guys remember Glitchtail, the series that Camila created? Well, it turns out that one of the co-creators, who goes by Ver, has done sexual advances to minors.
Ver's, over the course of about 3 years, would regularly contact minors on the Glitchtail Discord server. These would include pressuring minors to send him nudes, making threats to harm himself.
Now I know what you're going to say. This is all just allegations, and it hasn't been proven yet.
However, in this situation, Camila admits that he has done these things. Veers admits that he has done these things.
Yes, you guys, you heard this right. Veer and Camila Cuevas said all of this was true, so the natural thing was to kick him off Glitchtail.
However, as you can see on the screen here, this is where the main problem comes in. Veers has been allowed back into the community behind the Glitchtail series and has access to the Discord server again.
Now I know what you're gonna say.
This is bullshit.
And I might agree with you, but this?
In 2020, Camila Cuevas, the girlfriend of Veer at the time, was contacted.
Camila dated Ver. Camila dated Ver. And how was she involved with this?
Can I ask you something? How many / who people knew about this whole thing? To my knowledge, 5 in total knew about something or had happened something happened to them. Who? That I cannot say without their permission, sorry. Some don't want to be known. They just want to move past it. They have my word. The ones I'm allowed to say are me and Baguette. You know what? But you already knew that. What? I'm not mad. I know you're not. As far as I'm concerned, Veer could have dated the whole mod squad behind my back and I still wouldn't be mad. What really pains me is that I was made a clown of.
This is like the Predator level of bad, but arguably even worse. And the worst part about all this is that it didn't get much attention. If you want more information on this, I'm gonna link the video down below, because that action alone blows everything Camila did out of the water on Kiwi Farms. Now back to the other people who slandered Peaches. As for Minty Unicorn, she returned with a speed painted Doja Cat. Not something about Avrona though. As for Kai Weiss, he returned with another channel, and for the reception wikis, they are still active, and many of the users have left and replaced by new users. And before you do it, please don't go harass the new users because they're just children, and the new users do a much better job with their pages compared to the old ones. And by much better job, I mean that they don't treat SJWs like literal hell spawns, but they still take them too seriously, and regardless whether it's relevant or not. And these are claims made by users, myself included, themselves. As for Shannon's video, there were the claims that Shannon said in her video that Ellen did not address, like Lanaya. Since Shannon says that Lanaya was on the original track, shouldn't Emily prove that was Shannon on the track?
I hear the girl's voice. The girl's voice is Shannon's.
Although Shannon does not provide evidence of Lanaya being on the original track, so we're back to the unknown territory of who was on the original track. Also as unknown as the other person who Shannon dated during this time. Shannon blurs out his face, and I think I know why. Matt Pat, give me a call. Friends and relatives of Shannon and Anthony will likely likely be harassed and doxxed following this. And I know it may seem like a bit random here, but if I'm hearing stories of parents of school shooters getting doxxed and harassed for their child's actions, it's likely that they'll be brought down as well. Their children who are proven stalkers, one of which who allegedly assaulted their ex, and the other who treats her friends as if they turned their backs on her, they'll be known as the people who raise criminals and their lives will forever be miserable. At the time of this video's production, Shannon currently has 299,000 subscribers, losing almost 40% of that sub count. Only time will tell until she loses half of them. Even if we don't believe what Emily said was true beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is a reason why many find it highly plausible. By painting Emily as an unreliable narrator, by finding old posts that contradict her earlier statements, it only made everything said against her hold more weight, and her lashing out at friends even without Emily's accusations made her look worse. And for Shannon to call it defamation despite there being evidence brought against her,
Emily said in her slanderous video,
proves an earlier statement that Just Stop said, getting highly emotional, and people that go against you feel like personal attacks, even if they mean no harm and just want to get the truth out. Even Emily said the video was not meant to defame Shannon, it was meant for people to believe Emily.
My goal wasn't to smear Shannon's character, it was for people to believe me.
Just like this video, of course, this video was not meant to defame the reception wikis, or say that every member of the site is toxic. It was meant for people to understand the site is indeed toxic, and you should watch out for users like these. Hell, I'm not even the first one to talk about it. I found another video that talks about the reception wikis, but mostly through the quality of their pages. I'll put a link in the description. And if Russ is watching this, I don't think of you as a terrible person, or even a pedophile. I just want you to understand that SJWs aren't everything to you, because you take things extremely personally to them. And even if we mean no personal harm, if we try to debunk some of the claims made against Shannon or Anthony because there isn't enough evidence, and you get caught up for being Shannon, or at least defending Shannon, it only proves Shannon right on one aspect. The fact that in Shannon's eyes, the fact that there are some people in the world who don't buy into Emily's claims, or willing to debunk some of the evidence, or being attacked by Emily's fans, or just some randos on the internet, gives Shannon a more justified reason to attack Emily.
She also went further to claim that people criticizing her for her lack of evidence were also me, and asked her fans to directly attack them.
Emily's fans calling someone Shannon just because some evidence looks skeptical, they just proved my point. Emily is sending her fans to attack others. I also thought of this question. Did those toxic Emily fans used to be Shannon's fans before Shannon was exposed on LolCow? Maybe they are devastated to learn that someone they looked up to turned out to be a terrible person. They are so devastated in fact that they'll just grow their hatred towards Shannon. The tale that Creepshow Art forged for us has been very divisive. On one hand, people can relate to her over her homelessness. There were those friends that she genuinely helped, and they in turn looked up to her. Being in that dark spot only for a friend to come rescue you doesn't make that friend seem more genuine and noble, and it makes whatever claims the friend said is more valuable. This is one of the reasons why we bought Shannon during Peach's cancellation, with others being listening to her videos while doing other stuff, or just being a fan of her. But when the truth was revealed, all of the stories that Shannon made went down along with her YouTube career, but the root of Shannon's behavior persisted, even after she returned and went out. But in that case, we can change from this, learn more, and evolve. There's a reason why the quote, "never meet your heroes" existed. We see this in entertainment, but the truth in television remains. The worst part about the Shannon drama is that there's nothing new to gain from this. Almost every video on Shannon here on out after Emily's is an entire recap up to this point, or just an analysis of her behavior. Unless you watch my video, of course. But maybe Creepshow Art hadn't left YouTube and is still planning on coming back. Or maybe the real Creepshow Art was inside us all along. But for now, I'll leave the rest up to you. So yes, that was the video. I want to give a big shout out to everyone who made it through the video. Like, I gotta applaud you for spending 3 hours of your time watching my video on Creepshow Art, and a different game I played on each chapter. Where should I go next? I don't know, maybe a video on Chris Chan or Dead Island 2, but in whatever case, thanks for watching, and don't forget to avoid cringe.